Chapter 883. Heh, you want this old man to be your slave? You sure talk big, fellow Taoist. When I was at my peak, even a second tribulation immortal venerable would have to be polite to me. Even the northern heaven immortal king would not be able to make me kneel down and fawn over him. Who do you think you are to make this old man a slave? Iron Cloud Ancestor's corpse suddenly exploded into a mist of blood, and a gloomy black figure walked out from it. His name was Iron Crow Taoist, and he looked at Kei Shensi with contempt. Kei Shensi snorted coldly, and without wasting any time with Iron Crow Taoist, he immediately activated the Barbarian Blood Rune. With the activation of the runes, Taoist Iron Crow immediately cried out in pain and said angrily, "What a powerful restriction! How dare you plant a restriction on this old man?" Taoist Iron Crow. You are an ancient immortal venerable, and I am also an ancient immortal venerable. My cultivation is stronger than yours. I've already placed a restriction on you now, and you've become my slave. If you dare speak disrespectfully to me again, then don't blame me for activating the restriction and annihilating you. Quickly help this old man fight against this fiend. If you dare to disobey this old man's orders, this old man will definitely punish you severely. Although Iron Crow Taoist hated Kei Shensi to the core, he was also extremely afraid of the restriction within his body. Looking at the situation on the battlefield, he felt slightly better when he saw that there was an Earth Devil slave beside Kei Shensi, who seemed to be an immortal reverend in the past. Rolling his eyes gloomily, he sneered and joined the battle, joining forces with Kei Shensi and Earth Demon to resist the cloaked puppet. Even though the cloaked puppet was a mid-thought fragmentation realm puppet, Ning Fan could not unleash its full power. He could only control it to launch simple attacks. When Kei Shensi and the others were at their peak, they were all immortal venerables and were not to be trifled with. Even if he could only unleash the peak strength of Shizong Kong, he was not to be underestimated. The puppet was still able to fight evenly with Kei Shensi and Earth Demon, but after Taiya joined the battle, the situation became unfavorable for the puppet. I'm not the real Ren Huang Kong, so I can't unleash the full power of this puppet. If this goes on, it's only a matter of time before I lose. Ning Fan's eyes became increasingly solemn. One of his hands was controlling the puppet strings while the other hand was placed on the soul pouch hanging on his waist. Other than the thought-shattering puppet, Ning Fan still had another trump card that could save his life, the Divine Blast technique. There were a lot of second-step primordial spirits inside the soul pouch. There was even a primordial spirit of the broken thought fragment. It was the primordial spirit of the red-eyed old monster who chased after Ning Fan in the Divine Tomb. If Ning Fan makes all of his primordial spirits explode, he would certainly cause unimaginable damage to Kei Shensi and the others. When Kei Shensi saw that the cloaked puppet was gradually losing the battle, he felt relieved. But the moment Ning Fan placed his palm on the soul pouch, a sense of foreboding rose in his heart. Without any reason, all the hairs on his back stood up and he was secretly frightened. Not good. Other than the thought-shattering puppet, this kid still had a trump card that he hadn't used yet. Although they didn't know what kind of divine ability he was going to use, they definitely couldn't let him use it. Otherwise, this old man's life will be in danger. The third tree slave, appear. The fourth tree slave, appear. In a hurry, Kei Shensi made 2 hand seals. The instant he formed a hand seal, the four-eyed demon monarch and fairy Han Wu both cried out in pain and were on the verge of death. Ning Fan's expression immediately changed. How could he not know that Kei Shensi was going to summon another ferocious creature from their bodies? With the addition of the Earth Devil and Iron Crow, the situation was already very tricky. If Kei Shensi were to summon something else, Ning Fan knew that his chances of winning would be slim. Don't even think about summoning another ferocious creature. After giving up on the idea of using the Spirit Blast technique immediately, Ning Fan's body swayed and turned into a ray of golden light. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the four-eyed demon monarch and fairy Han Wu. His left and right index fingers pointed at the space between their eyebrows, activating a trace of tribulation blood power. As Ning Fan's finger light landed on them, the two of them let out a muffled groan and fainted on the ground. The barbarian blood runes that covered their bodies faded away bit by bit. Ning Fan had actually used the power of his tribulation blood to suppress the barbarian blood runes in their bodies. As expected of the Tai Tsong tribulation spirit, it can actually suppress the power of the barbarian blood pill. It seems like I won't be able to summon the last 2 tree slaves without paying some price. Kei Shensi signaled the Earth Devil and Iron Crow with his eyes. Then he retreated and jumped out of the battle circle. Using 2 of his fingers on his right hand, he cut his left palm, causing blood to flow out. Then he slammed his palm on the ground of the snowy valley. Immediately, a small black and red blood formation appeared on the ground. It flashed like lightning and whistled within the blood formation. Kei Shensi then put his palms together and muttered an incantation. Immediately, a ray of light flew out from the bodies of the 4-eyed demon monarch and fairy Han Wu who had fainted on the ground. The rays of light shot into the blood formation and gradually turned into 2 shadows. The dark shadow on the left was a giant devil that was around 3 zhang tall. His body emitted a rotten and filthy corpse qi. His cultivation base was close to the early thought fragmentation realm. The bright shadow on the right was a ray of broken moonlight. The moonlight was sometimes bright and sometimes dark. It vaguely had the shape of a human, but it could not completely condense into a human. How could the remnant spirit of immortal concubine Zhang Yu be broken by someone? Who did this? Kei Shensi looked at the broken moonlight and was secretly shocked. Of course, he did not know that the reason why immortal concubine Zhang Yu's remnant spirit was broken was related to Han Wu. It seems like the 4th tree slave is temporarily useless. Kei Shensi harumphed coldly. Just as he was about to make a hand seal to disperse the moonlight, a cold and arrogant female voice came from the moonlight. Was it you who helped me to break the seal? You helped this empress, so this empress should have rewarded you. However, you just had to plant a restriction in this empress body, violating this empress taboo. You deserve to die. The human-shaped moonlight scolded and pressed her palm down. Countless rays of moonlight immediately lashed at Kei Shensi. Kei Shensi's expression changed. He quickly made a hand seal and activated the barbaric blood runes in the bodies of the giant devil and the human-shaped moonlight at the same time to break the attacks of the moonlight. When he looked at the human-shaped moonlight again, he was pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect that immortal concubine Zhang Yu could still display the strength of an early thought fragmentation realm cultivator even though her remnant spirit was scattered. I really admire you. Unfortunately, immortal concubine has already been planted with a restriction by me and has become my slave. Let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better not provoke me when you're living under someone else's roof. Kei Shensi looked at the giant devil and said with a sinister smile. Immortal Venerable Sang Men, I'll have to trouble you and immortal concubine Zhang Yu to help me kill this brat. Don't try to disobey my orders. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences. The giant devil who was called Immortal Venerable Sang Men harumphed coldly. His eyes swept across the battlefield and joined the battle. He quickly understood the situation and did not talk nonsense with Kei Shensi. The human-shaped moonlight that immortal concubine Zhang Yu had turned into tried to break the restriction in her body. After failing to do so, she snorted and no longer talked back to Kei Shensi. Her eyes swept across the battlefield and suddenly saw Ning Fan. Her killing intent instantly spread like a tidal wave. She remembered Ning Fan's qi very clearly. Previously, when she was about to succeed in seizing Fairy Han Wu's body, Fairy Han Wu was hit by Ning Fan's purple cloud enchanting technique. When the enchanting technique entered Fairy Han Wu's body, immortal concubine Zhang Yu, who was hiding in Fairy Han Wu's sea of consciousness, was also affected by the enchanting technique. At the critical moment of seizing Fairy Han Wu's body, she suffered a backlash. Due to a moment of carelessness, her broken spirit collapsed and turned into a body of moonlight. It's you. You're the one who sabotaged my great plan of seizing my body. You're the one who severely injured my broken spirit. You deserve to die. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu's body suddenly turned into a ray of dazzling moonlight. She directly passed the cloaked puppet and rushed towards Ning Fan. She swore to kill Ning Fan in a single strike to vent the hatred in her heart. Ning Fan turned into a ray of golden light and retreated, avoiding immortal concubine Zhang Yu's attack. However, his heart sank. He had already suppressed the medicinal power of the barbaric blood pill in the bodies of the four-eyed devil monarch and fairy Han Wu. However, he still failed to stop Kei Shensi from summoning tree slaves. Today, Kei Shensi had already summoned 4 tree slaves. Each of them was once a famous figure in the Northern Heaven. Earth Devil, Iron Crow, Death Sect. Ning Fan had never heard of their names before. However, he could vaguely tell that they were once immortal venerables of a region when they were at their peak. As for immortal concubine Zhang Yu, Ning Fan had heard of her before. She was one of the ancient immortal emperors who founded the vast cold palace. When she was at her peak, it was said that she was an immortal emperor who had passed the 9th tribulation. It was said that immortal concubine Zhang Yu had once betrayed the vast cold palace due to certain reasons. It was also said that immortal concubine Zhang Yu and many other immortal emperors of the vast cold palace had gone missing after the collapse of the ancient heavenly court. Ning Fan had never expected that the ancient immortal emperors who had been lost in history would become his enemy in such a way. Kei Shensi himself was also an immortal venerable of the past. Even though Kei Shensi and the others were not at their peak and the highest cultivation base was only at the early thought fragmentation realm, they still gave Ning Fan a pressure that was as heavy as a mountain. Ning Fan knew that he was not going to fight an early thought fragmentation realm expert and 4 peak shedding void realm experts in this battle. Instead, he was going to fight against 5 immortal venerables and immortal emperors who had yet to recover their cultivation base. His chances of winning this battle were slim. It was almost impossible for him to defeat the 5 ancient experts with his thought fragmentation puppet and spirit blast technique. The wise move was to use the speed of the golden light to escape from the encirclement of the 5 experts, giving up on Qinhua and taking revenge for the fallen Kei Shensi. However, Ning Fan was not willing to escape. Kei Shensi's unwilling pleas kept echoing in his ears. Ning Fan, who was in the unity of heaven and man, could hear the pleas of the real Kei Shensi from the body of the fake Kei Shensi. I don't want to be possessed by someone. I don't want to. No matter who it is, hurry up and free me. Kill the person who has taken over my body. I don't want my corpse to be controlled by someone. I don't want to. Who will free me? I don't want to. Ning Fan's eyes were burning with the flames of battle. He was not going to escape. He wanted to free his former benefactor, Kei Shensi, right here and now. So what if you were an immortal venerate or an immortal emperor? They are just a group of undead spirits that have survived until today. Why should I be afraid? Fight, fight, fight. Tens of thousands of flames of battle burned in Ning Fan's body. His black hair instantly turned blood red and his eyes were filled with the madness of a devil. The more desperate the situation was, the more reason he could not retreat. However, it was the only reason he could activate the power of the war god art. In the past, even though Ning Fan had successfully cultivated the 4th transformation of the war god art, he did not have a deep understanding of it because he had only cultivated it for a short period of time. At this moment, Ning Fan's understanding of the 4th transformation of the war god art continued to deepen. The essence of the 4th transformation of the war god art was just a simple sentence. Even if there are millions of enemies, I will go forward. It doesn't matter if the enemies are strong or weak, they can't get rid of the obsession in my heart. If I want to go, no one can stop me even if there are millions of soldiers in front of me. Only then can I be worthy of the word, war. Since immortal concubine Zhang Yu's attack failed, she tapped the ground with the tip of her toes again. She held the moonlight waterfall in her hand and tried to bind Ning Fan. This time, Ning Fan did not retreat. His eyes were filled with battle intent as he looked at immortal concubine Zhang Yu. He could see that immortal concubine Zhang Yu's moonlight body was not stable. It was in danger of collapsing at any time. To him, this was an opportunity. Ning Fan controlled the puppet with one hand to slow down Kei Shensi and the others. His other hand clenched into a fist. Millions of strands of chaotic purple light gathered in his fist and turned into 9 layers of undercurrents. Then, he threw a punch at immortal concubine Zhang Yu. Sunset technique, 9 stacks force. The moonlight waterfall that was as soft as air shattered Ning Fan's fist light with just a light strike. Then, it swept across Ning Fan's body and bound him. Ning Fan was bound by the waterfall. As the waterfall tightened, endless moonlight power rushed into his body and destroyed it wantonly. In just an instant, Ning Fan suffered countless injuries and spurted out a few mouthfuls of blood. However, his eyes were still filled with battle intent. He was not a match for immortal concubine Zhang Yu in a head-on battle and was defeated by her in a single strike. However, he still used the sunset technique to ambush her. The 9 layers of hidden force passed through the moonlight waterfall and reached immortal concubine Zhang Yu's hands. Then, it went into her body along her arms. As soon as the 9 layers of hidden force entered her body, immortal concubine Zhang Yu immediately let out a moan. She was pushed back by the force. Every time she took a step back, the force would invade her body a little and the enchantment technique would deepen. After 3 steps, immortal concubine Zhang Yu's chi was already in a mess. After 6 steps, her magic power was already unstable. The moonlight waterfall that bound Ning Fan also broke apart one by one. After 9 steps, immortal concubine Zhang Yu's body went limp. Her moonlight body that was on the verge of collapsing could no longer be kept together. It directly crumbled in the air and emitted specks of moonlight. If it wasn't because she already had a broken spirit body and was affected by Ning Fan's sunset enchantment technique, she wouldn't have been defeated so easily by Ning Fan's 9 layers of hidden force. Unfortunately, there were no ifs in this world. Since Ning Fan had already seen through immortal concubine Zhang Yu's weakness, which was the instability of her moonlight body, he naturally had to grab hold of her weakness and attack her head-on. In the battle against immortal concubine Zhang Yu, his enchantment technique worked again. Keep. Ning Fan did not have the time to suppress the injuries in his body. He waved his sleeve and before the scattered moonlight condensed again, he collected all of it and sealed it inside his sleeve. Kei Shensi and the others who were working together to suppress the cloaked puppet were shocked when they saw Ning Fan subduing immortal concubine Zhang Yu in just 1 round. Since ancient times, there had never been any cultivator who could use the heretical enchantment technique in such a grand manner. Bewitching techniques had always been looked down upon. It was a common trick used by rapists, and rapists who cultivated by plucking nourishment often had superficial realms. Very few of them could go far on the path of cultivation, and none of them would have strong battle prowess. Unfortunately, Ning Fan was an exception. He was a devil lord who practiced dual cultivation, but his combat power was extremely high. In his hands, the enchantment technique was not a heretical technique. Instead, it was a lethal weapon that could restrain all the female cultivators in the world. Even someone as strong as immortal concubine Zhang Yu could only be slaughtered by Ning Fan when she turned into a humanoid moonlight. Suddenly, Ning Fan had an epiphany. In this world, there was no weak divine ability. As long as it meets the right user, any divine ability could become a peerless absolute art. Be it cultivation method or divine ability, there was no such thing as the strongest or the weakest. Ning Fan took a deep breath. His eyes were filled with battle intent as he looked at Kei Shensi. His left hand once again pressed on the soul pouch. As soon as he saw Ning Fan's action, Kei Shensi's heart was filled with warning signs. Earth Devil, Taya, both of you work together to hold back the puppet for now. Sang Men, follow this old man and quickly take down this child. If we delay, there might be changes. As soon as his words fell, he dashed towards Ning Fan in a flash. His right hand immediately turned into a black and red beast claw. It interweaved with each other and clawed at Ning Fan's head. The giant devil known as the Morning Gate also soared into the sky. Countless iron spikes grew out of his body and shone with a cold light. He shrunk his body and rolled across the sky like an iron ball. With a force that could push mountains and fill the seas, he charged towards Ning Fan with a loud bang. In the face of Kei Shensi and immortal venerated Sang Men's deadly attacks, Ning Fan still did not take even half a step back. Instead, he forcefully tore the soul pouch with his left hand and tore it open. The world was immediately filled with thousands of mystic art essence spirits. Their eyes were empty and their aura of death surged into the sky. Among those primordial spirits, there were countless void fragmentation realm primordial spirits and more than 600 life immortal realm primordial spirits. There were also the primordial spirits of Dujin, Shikong and Xinyan. Ning Fan, who had learned the secret of the word, force, summoned his primordial spirit to set up a formation. Thus, the destructive power of the Spirit Blast technique was 3 times stronger than before. This was something that even the Yao family's patriarch, who created the God Blast technique, couldn't do. After all, the Yao family's patriarch didn't know the secret of power. It was no longer a simple God Blasting technique, but a God Blasting formation. This is the God Blast technique. Eastern Sky Yao family's God Blast technique. No, that's not right. I've never heard of the Soul Blast technique being used in such a manner. This is no longer the original God Blast technique. Kei Shensi was greatly shocked. He recognized the God Blast technique with just a single glance. It was already too late for him to retreat. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a cold light. He performed a hand seal and all the mystic art essence spirits exploded at the same time. The explosion did not spread to the outside world. Instead, it was confined within a formation diagram. That was the formation diagram that Ning Fan created by using the secret of power. Outside the formation diagram, there was no sign of explosion. Inside the formation diagram, however, there was an explosion that could destroy heaven and earth that spread in all directions. The current Kei Shensi and Sang Men could not withstand the explosion of the Red Eyes Old Monster's broken primordial spirit. In addition to the explosion of the 600 life immortal realm, Dujin, Shikong and countless void fragmentation realm primordial spirits, Kei Shensi and Sang Men lost their lives in the God Blasting Grand Formation before they could even scream. The ghastly aurora of self-explosion lit up the entire Yellow River Snow Valley. Everyone in the barrier world could see the sky-piercing bloody light that erupted from the God-blasting Grand Formation. The army of demon cultivators who were still waiting outside the Yellow River Labyrinth were shocked and confused. At this moment, how could they not know that the enemy had already sneaked into the Yellow River Snow Valley? Unknowingly, an earth-shattering battle was triggered in the Snow Valley. The 3 early Shikong demon commanders looked at the direction of the Snow Valley with cold sweat dripping down their foreheads. They could feel the danger of certain death from the destructive bloody light. They could not recognize that the bloody light was the God Blasting technique because the technique had been modified by Ning Fan into a formation and had lost its original appearance. What a powerful ability! Even an early thought fragmentation realm old monster would most likely die if he is drawn into this bloody light. We can't cross the Blood River and reach the Snow Valley. We can't stop the human race from stealing the Dust Flower, and we are also powerless to stop the cultivators who can display this kind of ability. How can we resist them? Fortunately, no one has ever been able to pluck the Dust Flower. Naturally, these human cultivators won't be able to do it. We just need to stay here and strengthen the barrier to prevent the human cultivators from leaving. When the reinforcements arrive, we can join hands and take them down. In the Yellow River Snow Valley, the God Blasting Grand Formation gradually dispersed. 2 charred corpses fell from it. One of them was Kei Shensi's corpse while the other was Sang Men's corpse. Kei Shensi's storage pouch had already been shattered. The items inside were scattered all over the ground. Venerated Sang Men did not have a storage pouch. However, his corpse soon turned into gloomy corpse chi and perished in the air. After all, he was a tree slave that Kei Shensi summoned from the 4-eyed devil sovereign's body. He did not have a physical body. Naturally, there would not be a corpse left behind. 2Mo and Taya, who were still fighting against the cloaked puppet, were so shocked that they could not close their mouths. With just a single strike, Ning Fan had killed 2 peak Shikong demons. This scene caused their hearts to tremble with fear. If they were at their peak, they would certainly not be afraid of Ning Fan. Unfortunately, they only had peak Shikong demons cultivation base now. They did not have the strength to withstand the God Blasting technique of that level. However, this strike had also depleted all of Ning Fan's primordial spirit. Unfortunately, the two of them did not know about this. They only knew that Ning Fan could still display that level of divine ability. Their fear towards Ning Fan had already been deeply engraved into their bones. Kei Shenxi's primordial spirit was directly destroyed in the God-blasting Grand Formation. Not even a trace of it was left. Even if it was left, it would probably not be of much use to Ning Fan. Sun Luo had pointed out the drawbacks of the God-blasting technique. This technique could not be activated with the primordial spirit of the ancient monsters. Even though Ning Fan was severely injured, his aura force was unprecedentedly strong after capturing immortal concubine Zhang Yu and killing Kei Shenxi and venerated Sang Men. His left hand casually wiped away the bloodstain at the corner of his mouth while his right hand was still controlling the puppet strings, forcing Tu Mo and Taiya, who had already lost their will, to fight, into a desperate situation. Currently, Ning Fan did not have his primordial spirit to display the God-blasting technique. Thus, he could not completely defeat the two of them with the thought-shattering puppet. At most, he could only suppress them slightly. The dust flowers had already bloomed for more than a quarter of an hour. There was not much time left for Ning Fan to pluck them. He did not have the time to continue fighting against Tu Mo and Taiya. When Ning Fan saw the fear in their eyes, he suddenly had an idea. These two people were once immortal venerables after all. If I only rely on my puppets, it's basically impossible to take them down. Fortunately, these two people are already afraid of me. If I can deceive them and make them my slaves, it won't be a bad thing. Ning Fan's eyes turned serious and he made up his mind. After controlling the puppets to repel the two of them once again, he did not continue to attack them. Instead, he took out the jade slip that Shadi had given him and hid it in his sleeve. Then, he said to the two of them coldly and mercilessly, "Become my slaves or die. Give me an answer within 3 breaths." As soon as they heard Ning Fan's words, Tu Mo and Taiya's faces were filled with shock and anger. Both of them were once immortal venerables of the ancient times. However, they had no choice but to become Kei Shenxi's slaves. Now that Kei Shenxi was dead, how could they be willing to become Ning Fan's slaves again? However, the vague sense of danger that was coming from the jade slip in Ning Fan's sleeve made the two of them breathless with fear. Even if the two of them were at their peak, they would not be able to resist the killing intent in the jade slip. How could they not know that the jade slip in Ning Fan's hand contained a killing technique that was even more terrifying than the spirit blast technique? Once it is used, the two of them would certainly die. Unfortunately, they did not know that the jade slip could only be used for show at most. It could not be activated. After all, Ning Fan only had 2 jade slips left. One of them was to summon the ancient puppet while the other one was to summon Shadi. Now that he was in the ancient wild region, he could not use the 2 jade slips unless he was within 4 days. What should I do? It wasn't easy for me to break free from the Iron Blood Seal. How can I be willing to become someone's slave? However, if I don't become a slave, I will certainly die. Moreover, I'm not willing to die in vain. Taiya's eyes were filled with hesitation. Damn it! How should I choose? I don't want to be a slave, nor do I want to die. Tu Mo could feel the killing intent from the jade slip. His body began to tremble uncontrollably. That was the jade slip condensed by Shadi. The killing intent it contained was naturally not something that the current Tu Mo could withstand. One breath. Ning Fan's voice resounded in their ears like a nightmare, breaking their psychological defense bit by bit. They only had 3 breaths to choose. How should they choose, and how could they choose? If they made a wrong choice, what awaited them would be eternal damnation. Chapter 884. The first breath was short and passed quickly, but to Earth Demon and Iron Crow Taoist, it was probably the longest time in their lives. On one hand, they were afraid of Ning Fan's terrifying divine abilities. On the other hand, they could not help but lower their heads and become slaves for a junior. Both of them were ancient immortal venerables. Those who could cultivate to the immortal venerable realm were all prideful people. How could they be willing to be slaves? However, the two of them did not have the courage to reject Ning Fan's threat. Even ants lived in vain. Naturally, the two of them also knew how to cherish their lives. 2 breaths. While the two were hesitating, the second breath passed. When Ning Fan's voice resounded in their ears, their hearts sank. They knew that if they do not make a decision now, they would probably not be able to turn the situation around once Ning Fan counts to 3. I am willing to be your slave, but I have a condition. Earth Demon's psychological defense collapsed first. He gritted his teeth and said to Ning Fan, "Speak." Ning Fan's expression remained unchanged. "I will only serve you for 1,000,000 years. After 1,000,000 years, you must return my freedom to me. I'm an immortal venerable. I can't be a slave for my entire life. If you don't agree to this condition, I won't surrender to you even if I die." To us immortal venerables, being a slave for life is practically no different from death. What's the point of living without freedom? Do you agree to this condition or not? The Earth Demon replied with a bit of backbone, but there was a hint of nervousness in his expression. It was impossible for him to be Ning Fan's slave for life. However, if Ning Fan only wants to serve him for 1,000,000 years, he could consider it. After all, to an immortal venerable of the past 10,000 years, 1,000,000 years was very short. It was like a day and night. If Ning Fan doesn't agree to his condition, even if he cherishes his life, he would still choose to fight Ning Fan to the death. After all, he still had the pride of being an immortal revered in the past. "I can agree to your condition, but you have to hand over your fate soul to me for safekeeping," Ning Fan said in an irrefutable tone. "What? You want me to give you my life soul? This was impossible. At most, I'll allow you to plant a restrictive spell on me." Earth Demon glared at him and refused without thinking. Iron Crow Daoist's face darkened as well. When he heard Ning Fan agreeing to Earth Devil's condition, Daoist Tai Crow was already tempted. He wanted to give up his 1,000,000 years of freedom and surrender to Ning Fan just like Earth Devil in order to preserve his life. However, as soon as Daoist Tai Crow heard that Ning Fan wanted his life soul, he became hesitant again and remained silent. A second step cultivator's essence soul and soul fused together and could not be separated. If the essence soul died, the soul would dissipate. However, if one cultivated to the primordial realm, they could extract a strand of soul energy from their primordial spirit, which was called the fate soul. The life soul had a major flaw. If it was accidentally destroyed, the primordial old monster would die along with it. For ancient monsters, only when they were truly loyal to someone would they hand over their fate soul and leave their life and death in the hands of others. At this moment, Ning Fan fully released his aura force without hiding his cultivation base. With Earth Devil and Iron Crow's eyesight, they could naturally see that Ning Fan's cultivation base was at the mid-crossing truth realm. The gap between the mid-true crossing realm and the peak-shedding void realm was more than one realm. Even though Ning Fan was not an ordinary mid-true crossing realm cultivator, it was still not easy for him to plant a restrictive spell on them. Even if he could plant a psychic seal on them in the end, due to the difference in their cultivation, the psychic seal could at most severely injure the two of them. It would not be able to endanger their lives. Earth Devil and Iron Crow's bottom line was that they would only allow Ning Fan to plant a psychic seal on them. However, they would never hand over their fate souls to him. Ning Fan was also aware of this. That was why he asked for their fate souls. It was a helpless move. Since the psychic seal could not endanger their lives, it naturally could not guarantee their loyalty. After surviving today's crisis, who knew if Earth Devil and Iron Crow would betray him one day and break the psychic seal at the cost of serious injuries? With the gap in their cultivation base, the psychic seal was obviously unreliable. Only by obtaining their fate souls could he truly make the two former immortal venerables submit to him. "If the two of you hand over your fate souls to me, I will only keep you as my slaves for 10,000 years. After that, I will return you your freedom. If there's a chance, I will even help you to find a new physical body and seize another body to restore your immortal venerable's cultivation base. However, if the two of you are unwilling to hand over your fate souls, in my last breath, I will ask you again, are the two of you really not willing to hand over your fate souls?" Ning Fan's eyes coldly swept across Earth Devil and Iron Crow. He activated the Slayer Emperor's Jade Slip and released a trace of aura force to deter them. However, he did not give them a firm answer. Inwardly he sighed. If the two of them insisted on not handing over their fate souls, Ning Fan had no choice but to settle for the next best thing and plant a psychic seal on them for the time being. As for the other matters, they could only talk about it in the future. Earth Devil and Iron Crow exchanged glances and saw the hesitation in each other's eyes. Both of them were immortal venerables from ancient times. There was not much difference between being a slave for 10,000 years or a slave for 1,000,000 years. It was just a short seclusion or a long seclusion. Both of them did not expect Ning Fan to find a good physical body for them to seize another body and restore their cultivation base. Currently, the two of them only had an illusory remnant of their primordial spirits. They had already lost their physical bodies and their cultivation base was greatly damaged. Unless they could find an ancient immortal venerable's physical body, they would definitely not be able to regain their immortal venerable's cultivation base. It was not easy to find a suitable immortal venerable's physical body. The two of them were not moved by Ning Fan's words. They were still unwilling to hand over their fate souls. However, what could they do even if they were unwilling? If they do not hand over their fate souls, they would probably be killed by Ning Fan right here. This young man is obviously just a junior Dujin. Why does he have so many heaven-defying abilities to protect himself? What exactly is his background? Now that things have come to this, I'm afraid I have no choice but to agree. It seems like I can only hand over my fate souls. Earth Devil's thoughts raced. He let out a long sigh and gritted his teeth. Then he said to Ning Fan, "Alright, I can give you my fate soul. However, you have to swear the Great Heart Devil oath that you will return my fate soul and my freedom after 10,000 years. I don't have the habit of swearing oaths. However, I will certainly keep my promise. Whether you believe me or not, it's all up to you," Ning Fan said coldly. Seeing that Ning Fan was unwilling to swear the Great Heart Devil oath, Earth Devil's expression turned slightly unpleasant. However, there was nothing he could do. Now that Ning Fan was on the chopping block, he was like a piece of meat on the chopping block. If Ning Fan insisted on not swearing the oath, could he still force him? But, I will believe you for once. This is my fate soul. Take it. If you go against your promise with me, I will make you pay even if I have to risk my life. As soon as he finished speaking, Earth Devil performed a hand seal with both of his hands. Immediately, a piece of dark yellow, slightly illusory pangolin scale flew out from his glabella. That scale was the appearance of his fate soul. Ning Fan kept the scale of Earth Devil's fate soul and nodded his head in satisfaction. From now on, Earth Devil's life and death were in Ning Fan's hands. He should not have the intention to betray him anymore. I will also give my fate soul to you, little friend. This is my fate soul. Little friend, keep it well. Seeing Earth Devil obediently handing over his fate soul, Iron Crow Taoist heaved a long sigh and did the same. His fate soul was an illusory crow feather made of iron. Ning Fan kept it as well. Now, both of them had become Ning Fan's slaves. The two of you will guard the entrance of the Snow Valley. If any demon intrudes the valley, kill them all. Ning Fan ordered the two of them. Don't worry, little friend. With the two of us guarding the entrance of the Snow Valley, no one can intrude the valley unless it's the thought-breaking old monster. The two of them answered reluctantly. However, they were a little worried about their gains and losses. After all, they were still a little arrogant when they did not address Ning Fan as their master. Ning Fan would not care about such trivial matters. After Earth Devil and Iron Crow Taoist left, he glanced at the four-eyed Devil Monarch and Fairy Han Wu who were unconscious on the ground. After confirming that the two of them were just unconscious and their lives were not in danger, Ning Fan did not care about them for the time being. He waved his hand and kept the thought-breaking puppet. Then he lowered his head and looked at the destroyed items on the ground. Looking at Kei Shenxi's charcoal-like corpse, he gradually let out a long sigh without saying a word. The scenes of him comprehending the rain in the Dark Sparrow's grave flashed across his mind. Eventually, they only turned into a heavy sigh for Ning Fan. Senior Kei Shenxi, I owe you a debt of gratitude. If it wasn't for the comprehension of the rain that you left in the dark sparrow's grave, I wouldn't have been able to come this far. Not being able to meet you when you were still alive is really a regret of mine in this life. The only thing I can do for you is to avenge you by killing the person who took your body and took your life. The enmity of the past has vanished today. Senior Kei Shensi, have a safe journey. As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan cupped his fists slightly and bowed to Kei Shensi's charcoal-like corpse. After this bow, a surge of resentment surged out from Kei Shensi's corpse and dissipated in the air. After the resentment dispersed, the flesh and blood of Kei Shensi's charcoal-like corpse gradually dissipated, leaving only a charred skeleton. Then, the skeleton broke into ashes bit by bit and passed away. At this point, Kei Shensi's resentment had vanished. Perhaps he could finally rest in peace. Kei Shensi's hometown should be in Northern Heaven. If I go to Northern Heaven one day, I can find his hometown and bury his ashes. Ning Fan took out a jade box and waved his sleeve. All the ashes on the ground were kept into the jade box carefully. After doing all this, Ning Fan walked towards the melted ice lake step by step. His eyes were burning with passion as he stared at the dust tree at the center of the lake. When the dust flower bloomed for 45 minutes, it would turn into dust. Now that it had bloomed for 45 minutes, there was still 15 minutes left for Ning Fan to pluck the dust flower. Since the fall of the seventh barbarian ancestor and the calamity that befell the desolate land, no one could successfully pluck the dust flower from the dust tree. Today, this record was destined to be broken by Ning Fan. Ning Fan's figure flashed and appeared under the dust tree at the center of the lake. Stepping on the surface of the lake, he recalled the flower-plucking finger art that he saw in the first illusion of Dujin. His 10 fingers moved like shadows and formed hundreds of finger arts in an instant. Everything was exactly the same as what Red Yaksha did in the past. After forming those mysterious finger arts, Ning Fan carefully reached out his hand and plucked the dust flowers from the dust tree. There were a total of 49 dust flowers and he placed them in the wooden box. Ning Fan tried to seal the dust flowers and bring them back for Zhao to consume. However, he found out that it was impossible. The dust flowers would wither after 3 minutes. This was the rule set by the Tribulation Lord. Ning Fan could not change it with his current cultivation base. Moreover, there was another rule that was set within the dust flowers. They could not be brought out of the Yellow River's snow valley. Ning Fan vaguely sensed that if he forcefully brings the dust flowers out of the snow valley or keeps them in any storage space, the dust flowers would directly turn into ashes. No wonder Red Yaksha would directly consume all the dust flowers under the dust tree in front of me in the illusory realm. It turns out that these dust flowers can't be sealed or brought out of the snow valley. Looking at the dust flowers in the wooden box that were dissipating bit by bit, Ning Fan sighed. He knew that the dust flowers were already on the verge of dissipating and it would be difficult for them to exist for a long time. Thus, he had no choice but to consume them immediately. Ning Fan consumed the dust flowers one after another. Each time he consumed a dust flower, his comprehension ability would skyrocket. In the world of his mind, the second illusory heavenly mortal gate gradually appeared. The power of the 49 dust flowers could only make the shadow of the second heavenly mortal gate appear. It could not make the gate materialize, let alone open it. Even though the dust flowers have greatly increased my Tao comprehension, it is still not enough to open the second heavenly mortal gate. Ning Fan's eyes fell upon the intertwined roots and joints of the dust tree. His eyes flashed with green light. He saw a will inside the dust tree. That will was the nutrients for the dust flowers to bloom. It was also the foundation of the dust tree. The fake Kei Shensi had once begged Ning Fan to help him extract this will. Now, Ning Fan was interested in extracting the power of this will. However, it was not for the fake Kei Shensi but for himself. If I devour this will, I wonder if I can open the second heavenly mortal gate. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with determination. He raised his right palm and pressed it on the dust tree, feeling the veins of the will inside it. When he opened his eyes, he seemed to be able to see through the huge web of wills inside the tree. When he closed his eyes, the huge web of wills spread out in his mind, forming traces of strange Tao law that he had never seen before. from this dust tree, he saw the Tao that the Tribulation Lord cultivated. That Tao was called dust. It was not only the Tao but also a kind of extremely pure will. What is dust? Everything that can be tainted in this world is dust. A voice that carried heavenly might and unimaginable power of will suddenly exploded in Ning Fan's sea of consciousness. Even though he was prepared for it, he was still forced to take a few steps back by that powerful will. He felt a pain in his chest and coughed out blood. His eyes were filled with shock. He had just extracted a trace of willpower from the dust tree and devoured it, but he had already suffered a huge backlash. The might of that will was really terrifying. It was indeed the will left behind by the Tribulation Lord who planted the dust tree. However, this will had been here for countless years and had bloomed countless generations of dust flowers. Its remaining power was no longer as strong as before. Ning Fan did not believe that he could not extract the complete will of the dust tree and devour it. After devouring just a trace of the will of the dust tree, the second heavenly mortal gate in his mind became much more solid. Ning Fan believed that if he could completely devour all of the will, it would be enough to completely open the second heavenly mortal gate. Suddenly, the scene where he turned into a barbaric bull in the illusion of Duzhen appeared in front of Ning Fan's eyes. He had once turned into a barbaric bull and fought against the will of the Tribulation Lord. Now that he was facing it again, he had nothing to be afraid of. Ning Fan stepped on the surface of the lake again and approached the dust tree. He pressed his palm on the tree. Outside the Yellow River maze, a crack in the boundary suddenly appeared in the clouds, and 9 ice demon ships swarmed in. On each of the demon ships, there were nearly 1,000 demon cultivators. They were all demon cultivators who had been ordered to rush to the Snow Valley, but they were not demon cultivators of the true Dragon Clan. There were more than 10 Duzhen experts on each demonic ship, and there was also a sky-rending realm demonic cultivator on each ship. Countless demonic beast totems were carved on the sides of the demonic ships. The beasts carved on the totems were shaped like fish and huge like whales. It's the reinforcements of the Snow Whale clan. I didn't expect this clan to be the first to arrive here. A large number of Dragon Clan demon soldiers stationed outside the maze immediately exclaimed. In the Upper Realms Demon Spirit Land, the Snow Whale clan's foundation was comparable to that of the True Dragon Clan and True Phoenix Clan. They were one of the most powerful True Spirit clans. Of the 9 Snow Whale clan members, 5 were at the early stage, 2 at the middle stage, 1 at the late stage, and 1 at the peak stage. The 8 sky-rending realm demonic cultivators all had cold and emotionless expressions, as if they were 1,000 miles away from people. This was because they had the cold bloodline of the Snow Whale clan. The one with the highest cultivation level among the 9 sky-rending realm demonic cultivators was a middle-aged man with thin lips and hawk-like eyes. He looked mean and merciless, and his demon name was Shui Kuzi. Shui Kuzi's cultivation level had been at the peak of the sky-rending realm for 400,000 years, and he was the leader of this group of Snow Whale clan experts. Seeing that Shui Kuzi and the others had come to help, the 3 sky-rending realm demonic cultivators of the Dragon Clan did not dare to be slow. They soared into the sky and clasped their fists at Shui Kuzi. Greetings, fellow Taoists of the Snow Whale Clan, Cold Blue Claw, Yuan Jiao, and Zhao Lin of the True Dragon Clan. The tone of the 3 sky-rending realm demonic cultivators was polite, but Shui Kuzi let out a light snort. He was not polite to the 3 of them, nor did he return their greetings. Instead, he asked directly, how many human cultivators have trespassed here? What's their cultivation level? Where are they now? Tell me quickly. The 3 Shurs of the dragon race knew that Shui Kuzi was an arrogant person, so they didn't mind. They recorded all the information they knew into jade slips and handed them to Shui Kuzi and the other Shurs of the Snow Whale. Shui Kuzi glanced at the jade slip and immediately showed a disdainful look and said with a contemptuous smile, 4 sky-rending realm demonic cultivators and 2 Duzhen demonic cultivators. Even if there is a peak sky-rending realm demonic cultivator among them, it's not worth mentioning. How dare they come to the Yellow River Snow Valley with such a small group of people? They're simply courting death. The reinforcements of the other demon clans haven't arrived yet. Let us, the Snow Whale clan, take this credit. By the way, why aren't the 7 little ancestors of the Endless Sky Phoenix clan here? Didn't they foresee that there would be an opportunity waiting for them in this snow valley? Why aren't they here? Upon hearing Shue Kuzi's question, the 3 sky-rending realm demonic cultivators were also puzzled. They didn't know where the 7 Endless Sky Phoenix demons had gone, but they didn't think that they would be captured. They only knew that the 7 women had left the snow valley. Forget it. It's a good thing that those little ancestors aren't here. If they were here, even I would have to restrain myself when I do things. Shue Kuzi nodded, and his eyes flashed with killing intent. He immediately ordered the 9 demon ships to sail towards the snow valley, and swore to kill all the human cultivators in the snow valley to earn the credit. At this moment, an unimaginable willpower descended from the heaven and earth within the barrier. Under the strong pressure of that willpower, the 9 demon ships all fell from the sky. The mountains and rivers were moaning, the wind and snow were rolling, and the entire barrier started to become unstable. Countless scarlet tribulation clouds covered the sky, and the rolling tribulation will lightning struck down from the clouds. Every ray of tribulation light had the power to make the cultivators of the sky-rending realm tremble. What is that lightning? Shue Kuzi, who was originally full of confidence, was now sweating profusely. He wasn't the only one. All the demon cultivators here were shocked by the destructive tribulation power. They didn't know what tribulation will was, what tribulation blood was, and what the Tai Tsung tribulation spirit was. They also didn't know that the tribulation clouds that covered the sky was a phenomenon that would only appear when the Tai Tsung tribulation spirit awakened its bloodline for the first time. It was the first tribulation blood. No one could resist the tribulation will of heaven and earth. That will was powerful enough to destroy heaven and earth. It was so evil that it made people feel nauseous. None of the demon cultivators dared to approach the snow valley without permission at this moment. Outside the snow valley of the Yellow River, Earth Devil and Taoist Iron Crow, who were guarding the place, felt their souls tremble. They immediately turned their heads towards the direction of the snow valley. Even though the 2 of them were ancient immortal venerables, they did not know what tribulation will was. Naturally, they did not know where the will that covered the sky came from. Their eyes pierced through the snow valley and landed on the white-robed young man who was standing on the surface of the icy lake. At this moment, the power of the Chin trees had been completely transferred to Ning Fan's body. The originally flourishing Chin tree was now withering bit by bit. Only a seed was gradually growing at the center of the withered tree without anyone noticing it. The will that was powerful enough to cover the entire sky came from Ning Fan's body. It was the will that the Chin tree was supposed to have. However, it was swallowed by Ning Fan. Ning Fan closed his eyes tightly. While withstanding the mountain-like pressure, he crazily absorbed the power of the will. The power of the will slowly fused with the tribulation blood in his body. While increasing his Tao comprehension, it also caused the tribulation blood in his body to undergo a qualitative change. The tribulation power in his blood was getting stronger bit by bit. This feeling is very similar to awakening blood. In the past, when I awakened my demon blood, I also felt this burning sensation. My tribulation blood is actually awakening my blood as well? Ning Fan suddenly opened his eyes. His expression became solemn. He had never expected that his tribulation blood could also awaken step by step. He also did not expect that after devouring the will of the Chin tree, his tribulation blood would awaken. No wonder the fake Kei Shensi wanted me to help him extract the will of the Chin tree. He said that there is a chance for him to obtain the tribulation blood. So this is what happened. Ning Fan withdrew his palm and stood under the withered Chin tree with his hands clasped behind his back. Then, he closed his eyes again and gradually calmed down. The tribulation blood was a power that was not weaker than the power of samsara. It was a power that was gifted to him by the ancient Chaos Great Emperor. Since there was a chance for the tribulation blood to become stronger through awakening blood, he would naturally not let go of such a great opportunity. Ning Fan did not notice that the scattered moonlight that he had temporarily sealed in his sleeve was actually emitting a trace of fear in the face of the heavenly tribulation might. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu was terrified. She was terrified of the Tai Tsong tribulation might that filled heaven and earth. She remembered this tribulation might. In the past, when the ancient heavenly court was destroyed, there were countless tribulation clouds that covered heaven and earth. Tai Tsong tribulation might. This young man is actually the Tai Tsong tribulation spirit. Chapter 885. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu had no choice but to be fearful of the Tai Tsong tribulation spirit. After all, there was still a tribulation restriction planted by the enemy in her remnant spirit that was on the verge of dissipating. Ning Fan's cultivation base might not be worthy of her attention, but his identity as a tribulation spirit made her fearful. If Ning Fan notices the tribulation restriction in her body, he could easily turn her into a tribulation slave or kill her by activating the restriction with his tribulation blood. Everything depended on Ning Fan's will. Damn it! I don't want to become his tribulation slave. I must break free from the seal and escape before he notices the tribulation restriction in my body. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu tried to recondense her scattered moon body and tear the seal. Unfortunately, her body was deeply affected by the bewitching technique and she could not break free at all. Be quiet. Don't disturb my awakening tribulation blood. Ning Fan frowned and scolded the moonlight in his sleeve coldly. He could feel immortal concubine Zhang Yu's struggle. Immortal concubine Zhang Yu was enraged. She was an ancient great emperor. When had she ever been scolded by a junior like Du Zhen like this? Unfortunately, Ning Fan did not give immortal concubine Zhang Yu any more chances to struggle. He directly activated the purple cloud enchanting technique, which was even more powerful and knocked out immortal concubine Zhang Yu's consciousness. Then, he threw her into the profound Yin world and focused on awakening the Jie blood. The awakening of demon blood was called tribulation blood. The awakening of a tribulation spirit was called tribulation blood. Ning Fan did not know about it. However, it did not stop him from seizing the opportunity to complete his first tribulation blood. The will of the Qin tree rampaged inside Ning Fan's body, trying to rush out of his body as it was unwilling to be devoured by him. The surface of the icy lake beneath Ning Fan's feet rippled. The ripples on the surface of the lake were the true reflection of his inner turmoil. The Tai Tsong tribulation might of heaven and earth gathered on Ning Fan's body. The level of his tribulation blood was increasing. His comprehension ability was also improving. The scarlet color in his eyes was also increasing bit by bit. That scarlet color was the will of the Qin tree. It was trying to corrupt Ning Fan's rationality, trying to turn him into a tribulation slave who would kill without batting an eyelid. If he were to encounter the Ning Fan from before the ancient chaos era, he certainly would not be able to withstand the erosion of this level of willpower. However, along the way, the level of Ning Fan's tribulation blood had been continuously improving. Moreover, he had been tempered in the 3 illusions of truth and 3 illusions. His willpower had become unprecedentedly strong. Thus, he was not afraid of this erosion. Trying to corrode me with just this bit of willpower? Not enough. Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned fierce. The scarlet red in his eyes immediately began to disperse. At the same time, a green-robed Taoist boy stood on a certain snowy mountain in the periphery of the northern region of the Savage Lands. He held a compass in his hand as he looked in the direction of the Yellow River's barrier, smiling faintly as if he was divining something. The Taoist boy had delicate features. He was an extremely handsome young man. There was a devilish cinnabar between his eyebrows. He was at the middle stage of the human profound realm. Although his cultivation base wasn't very high, he had many precious treasures on him. Furthermore, there were 3 life-saving divine abilities in his forehead that his master had bestowed upon him. Unless he fought thought-shattering eccentric, he wouldn't be in any danger of losing his life. His name was Si Ming, and he was the 7th disciple of the Southern Heaven Celestial Emperor. He is the 17th chess piece on Master's Karma chessboard, finally going to be born. Kei Shensi, no, the correct name should be Venerable Fan Mu, a second tribulation immortal venerable from the Fan clan of the ancient Savage Lands. According to Master's deduction, Fan Mu is the only surviving cultivator of the ancient Fan clan. As he had possessed the dust tree for many years, his comprehension ability was almost on par with a heavenly being realm cultivator. 5 million years ago, he had possessed the body of the divine son of the northern heaven sparrow. He had been scheming to sacrifice the blood of the desolate lands to become the 8th generation young barbarian. Young barbarian, barbarian? Hee. The two words barbarian coincide with the Taoist names of the 7 sons of the Fate Masters. Master has ordered that if this man can successfully extract the will of the dust tree and become a heavenly tribulation, I will personally give him a star luo chess piece and accept him as my 8th disciple on behalf of Master. He will also be given the title of barbarian. In that case, this man can be considered to have returned to Master's side. As Si Ming was smiling, he suddenly frowned and looked at the compass in confusion. Strange. Master had personally deduced this before. The result of the deduction shouldn't be like this. The tribulation blood has 5 levels, which is called mortal remnant true king ancestor. It's similar to the demonic and devil blood, but the division of the bloodline realm is more detailed. Each level is divided into 9 levels from 1 to 9 stars. According to Master's deduction, even if Fan Mu is lucky enough to extract the will of the dust tree, he can only have 4 stars mortal blood at most, which shouldn't be enough to trigger the heavenly tribulation. But at this moment, the heavenly tribulation phenomenon has appeared in the barrier of the Yellow River. Why is this? Si Ming fiddled with the compass. The doubt in his eyes grew more and more obvious. Suddenly, he exclaimed softly. According to the deduction compass, the level of the tribulation blood of the person in the Yellow River Snow Valley had broken through the level of 4 stars mortal blood and reached the level of 5 stars mortal blood. It's still increasing. 6 stars mortal blood. 7 stars. 8 stars. 9 stars. He actually broke through to the level of 1 star remnant blood. How is this possible? Si Ming finally sucked in a breath of cold air. He didn't want to admit it, but he had to admit that there was a mistake in his master's deduction this time. In the past, in order to find a Tao corpse for me to become an immortal, Master had his eyes on a cultivator from the lower realm. However, he made a mistake in his first deduction of the heaven's secret on that cultivator. Ever since that day, Master's deduction of the heaven's secret had always been wrong. According to Master's words, his flawless deduction of the heaven's secret had already been flawed. Did Master make a mistake again this time? I didn't expect that the result of Master's deduction this time would be so wrong. This 2-star remnant blood. The level of that immortal venerable Fan Mu's bloodline has increased again. It's still increasing. 3 stars. 4 stars. 5 stars. 6 stars. When the level of the bloodline had increased to 6-star remnant blood, the momentum finally weakened and stopped increasing. Even so, Si Ming's face was filled with shock. Immortal Emperor Master Luck once told him that there were 3 races in the illusory world: celestial, demon, and devil. Among them, the devil race's bloodline was the hardest to cultivate. Ever since the 9 great devil ancestors were suppressed, there were no more cultivators with ancestral bloodline in the devil race. Even royal devil cultivators rarely appeared. Outside the illusory world, there was a tribulation race called the Tai Tsong Tribulation Spirit. The bloodline of the tribulation spirit was even harder to cultivate than the bloodline of the devil race. As for the strength of the Tai Tsong Tribulation Spirit, it didn't depend on the cultivation base, but the bloodline. The stronger the bloodline, the stronger the tribulation spirit. The strength of the Tai Tsong Tribulation Spirit with 6-star remnant blood was almost comparable to the weaker cultivators of the Dujin realm. The Tai Tsong Tribulation Spirit with 1-star true blood was considered to have minor success in the Calamity blood and could sweep away any void-shedding realm cultivators. The Tai Tsong Tribulation Spirit with 1-star King bloodline was considered to have major success in the Calamity blood and could sweep away all cultivators below the Sage realm. The King Tribulation Spirit was almost equivalent to the Sage realm. In the world of the Tai Tsong Tribulation Spirits, It was rare for one to possess a 6-star bloodline at the first tribulation. Master once said that all 7 generations of the ancient Fan clan's barbaric ancestors failed in their awakening tribulation, and they did not even possess 4 stars mortal blood. However, Fan Mu managed to succeed in his awakening tribulation and possess a 6 stars remnant bloodline. It seems like his tribulation cultivation aptitude is much higher than the previous 7 generations of barbaric ancestors. Looks like Master has still underestimated this person. Even if this person's natural talent is placed on the karma chessboard, it's absolutely sufficient to be ranked in the top 10 amongst all the chess pieces. While Si Ming was praising him, Ning Fan, who was in the snowy valley of the Yellow River, had successfully devoured all the wills of the dust trees. The tribulation clouds between heaven and earth dispersed bit by bit. Ning Fan was rather disappointed with the result of the tribulation this time. There was no ancient tribulation spirit bestowal blood that he had imagined. It did not even allow the Jie blood to break through to the true blood rank. According to Ning Fan's senses, the grade of his tribulation blood was only comparable to the concentration of the demon blood of a low-grade demon. In other words, his Jie Su this time only allowed Jie Shui to break through to the remnant blood stage. I possess the ancestral grade demon and devil bloodlines and the king grade divine blood. However, the grade of my tribulation blood is only at the remnant blood stage. It seems a little low. Ning Fan sighed softly and examined the tribulation blood in his body. What he saw shocked him at first, then his eyes gradually turned solemn. He stretched out his palm and clawed forward. Immediately, the tribulation sense power that could bewitch all living beings turned into a dazzling red light and whizzed out. The power of the red light was enough to bewitch the consciousness of life immortals, turning them into Ning Fan's Jie Su slaves. Even the weaker early crossing truth realm cultivators would not be able to resist Ning Fan's Jie Su red light. If they were hit by the red light, there was a high chance that they would be controlled by Ning Fan and become his Jie Su slaves. It's just a remnant blood stage tribulation blood, but it already possesses such power. If it's true blood or king blood, what kind of destructive power would it have? To the gods, demons and devils, bloodline represents one's cultivation aptitude. However, to the Tai Tsang Jie Su, bloodline represents cultivation base. Their meanings are different and cannot be equated. The remnant blood stage tribulation blood and demon blood might not be worth mentioning, but the remnant blood stage tribulation blood is not to be underestimated. Outside the Yellow River Snow Valley, Earth Devil and Iron Crow Taoist felt a chill in their hearts the moment they saw the red light of tribulation sense. Both of them had the eyesight of an immortal venerable. Even though they did not know what tribulation sense was, they could tell how dangerous it was. If the amount of this red light reaches a certain level, even an ancient immortal venerable wouldn't be able to go against it. What exactly is this red light? Both of them swallowed their saliva. Once again, they felt that Ning Fan was unfathomable. Just like that, the first awakening tribulation passed without any problems. After devouring all of the dust tree's will, the second heavenly gate in Ning Fan's mental world had completely solidified. The tribulation sense was just an unexpected gain. Ning Fan's original purpose was to borrow the power of the dust tree's will to open the second heavenly gate. He closed his eyes and calmed his mind. Suddenly, the figure of a white-robed young man appeared in his mental world. It was Ning Fan. Ning Fan stood on the green brick platform and looked at the 3 giant gates on the platform. His eyes flashed with light. The first giant gate had been opened by Ning Fan. The second giant gate had already solidified and was waiting for Ning Fan to open it. The third giant gate was still illusory. The day of its opening was still far away. Ning Fan walked on the green brick ancient path and walked towards the second giant gate. He placed his palm on the gate and tried to push it. However, he could not move it at the moment. His mind gradually recalled Xiang Bozi's words. Ning Fan wore a thoughtful expression. Xiang Bozi had divided the path of cultivation into 3 stages: solitary cultivation, pursuit of regrets, and turning back. As for the people of the world, they divided the 3 heavenly gates into the Gate of Tao Law, Gate of Tao Heart, and Gate of Tao Life. With Ning Fan's eyesight, when he looked at the 3 giant gates, he gradually sensed different auras from them. Suddenly, he had his own understanding of the unity of heaven and man. From Ningfan's point of view, the three giant gates of the heavenly realm were also the gate of solitude, gate of regrets and turning back. When he accidentally opened the first gate of the heavenly realm, he had comprehended the loneliness of cultivation amidst the autumn wind and fallen leaves. Now, he was about to open the second gate of the heavenly realm. Even though the second gate had solidified, it seemed like he could not open it yet. Gradually, he understood the reason why he could not open the second gate. In order to open the second gate of the heavenly realm, one's heart must pursue the great Tao without any regrets. What I have pursued has never been longevity nor the truth of the Tao. I have never desired the great Tao. Therefore, I lack the fervor and persistence towards the great Tao. I lack the heart to die without regrets for the Tao. To me, be it gods, demons, devils, or even tribulations, I will use any means that can help me improve my cultivation base. I can't be considered as a true sword cultivator because I have no attachment towards the sword. As long as it is useful to me, be it a sword or a spear, they can all become my weapons. I also can't be considered as a true Tao cultivator. I will learn all the divine abilities and magic techniques that are useful to me. As for the useless ones, I will just leave them in a corner. I don't have any attachment towards the great Tao. The only things that can make me attached are those people and those things. Ningfan withdrew his palm. The second giant gate of the heavenly realm was too heavy. Unless he had the heart to pursue the Tao without regrets, he would not be able to push it open. However, so what if he can't push it open? All of a sudden, Ningfan's eyes were filled with the Tao sense that was as crazy as the devil. If he couldn't push the gate open, he would destroy it completely. So what? The second gate has appeared. As long as I devour the green qi in the gate, I will be able to break through the second level of the unity of heaven and man. If the stone gate blocks my way, I will break it. Rain yin yang unseal. Battle yin yang, unseal. 5 rain swords, appear. 5 battle swords, appear. Ningfan grabbed forward with his huge hand. Immediately, 10 soul-stirring sword lights appeared in front of him. They were like 10 roaring flying dragons. In an instant, they had already slashed at the stone gate. Ningfan had once simplified the 5 yin-yang swords into the 5 rain swords. He used the power of the yin-yang rain to activate this technique. Now that he had cultivated the battle yin-yang, it wasn't difficult for him to use the battle yin-yang to form the 5 swords. Unfortunately, the 5 battle swords didn't have an immortal sword to carry them. They only had illusory sword shadows. Their power was far inferior to the 5 rain swords. The 10 swords struck at the same time. Immediately, a crack was blasted open on the stone gate. Traces of green qi seeped out of the crack and entered Ningfan's body, greatly increasing his comprehension. When the 10 swords slashed at the stone gate, they were also slashing at Ningfan's mind. Ningfan's mind was in great pain. He had already suffered severe injuries. However, his eyes were filled with even more madness. Today, even if he had to suffer severe injuries to his mind, he would still slash open the second gate of the celestial being realm. This was the world of Ningfan's mind. With a thought, a second Ningfan immediately appeared beside him. The first Ningfan attacked the stone gate with 10 swords while the second Ningfan displayed the west wind technique. Suddenly, the third Ningfan appeared. His ancient devil body expanded rapidly. He activated the 4th transformation of the war god art. His hair became blood red and he kept throwing punches at the stone gate. In the world of Ningfan's mind, the 4th, the 5th and the 6th Ningfan appeared. More and more Ningfan appeared one after another. Tens of thousands of Ningfan were attacking the second stone gate with the same technique. Ningfan had learned innumerable techniques in his life. However, he had never been obsessed with any of them. Each of these techniques clearly had their own Tao charm. However, when they were displayed by Ningfan, there was only one type of Tao charm left: persistence. He had never been obsessed with external objects. He was only obsessed with his own heart. The injuries to his mind became more and more severe. However, the stone gate opened more and more. When it was completely opened, it directly shattered. A large amount of green chi gushed out from the gate and flowed into Ning Fan's mind, repairing the damage to his mind. At this moment, Ning Fan suddenly opened his eyes. The intensity of the green light in his eyes was more than 10 times stronger than before. At this moment, Ning Fan shattered the second gate of the heavenly being realm and stepped into the second level of the unity of heaven and man. At this moment, the entire desolate world was filled with spiritual chi. All living beings in the desolate world felt refreshed. However, they did not know why. In the outer region of the northern region, Ming was about to enter the barrier of the Yellow River when the compass in her hand suddenly spun madly. She was puzzled as she did not know why the compass would do that. She was slightly stunned and kept the compass. Then, her body shattered into countless ice threads and disappeared without a trace. With her cultivation base, she naturally did not know that a cultivator at the second level of the heavenly being realm had been born in this place. There were also ancient immortal venerables stationed in the desolate ancient region. However, even people like Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon and venerated immortal venerables did not know that someone in the desolate world had opened the second gate of the heavenly being realm. No one in the desolate world knew about it, but it did not mean that no one in other places knew about it. In the demon race of the upper world, there were a total of 4 ancient demon experts who sensed it. Within 4 days, only 3 old monsters of the human race sensed it. One of them was Great Emperor Ancient Chaos, who was in eternal slumber at the bottom of the divine tomb. In the devil world, only the devil ancestor who was suppressing the first devil mountain sensed it. Even Mo Luo, who was at the foot of the 4th devil mountain, could not sense it. Only these few people knew that another cultivator at the second level of the heavenly being realm had been born in this world. Unfortunately, they could only sense a trace of it from the changes in heaven and earth. They could not determine who that person was and where he had opened the second gate of the heavenly being realm. There were still traces of opening the first gate of the heavenly being realm which could be found by the ancient old monsters. However, there were almost no traces of opening the second gate of the heavenly being realm. Ning Fan's gaze swept across the dust tree and he was slightly surprised. With his eyesight of the second level of the heavenly being realm, he finally saw a seed among the withered dust tree. If others look at that seed, they certainly would not find anything special about it. Even Ning Fan in the past would not be able to see through the secrets of the seed. However, after opening the second gate of the heavenly being realm, Ning Fan gained the ability to see through all illusions in the world. Thus, he could tell that the seed was extraordinary with just a glance. This item is useful. It's even more useful than the body-seizing technique of the Fan clan. Ning Fan bent his palm and waved. He took out a seed from the trunk of the dust tree. After sealing it, he kept it in his storage pouch. At the moment he took out the seed, the dust tree withered completely and lost all of its vitality. Ning Fan's purpose of coming to the Snow Valley had already been achieved. It was obviously meaningless for him to stay here any longer. After activating the rain technique, Ning Fan's eyes darkened. When he awakened the Jie blood and opened the heavenly gate, more and more demons had gathered within the barrier of the Yellow River. It would not be easy for him to break out of the encirclement. These 2 people have heard about me possessing the Jie blood. I need to erase some of their memories. When the 4-eyed devil monarch and fairy Han Wu were unconscious, Ning Fan used the wind mist technique to erase part of their memories. After that, he activated his abilities in an attempt to wake them up. The 4-eyed devil monarch regained consciousness very quickly. He did not suffer many injuries. After all, the broken spirit of immortal venerate Sang Men was just sealed in one of the corpse puppets that he brought with him. Even if it was extracted, it would not hurt his body. On the other hand, Fairy Han Wu's injuries were slightly more severe. After all, immortal concubine Zhang Yu was extracted from her sea of consciousness. One could imagine the damage it caused to her sea of consciousness. As Ning Fan had erased part of her memories, the damage to her sea of consciousness worsened. This was out of Ning Fan's expectation. He squatted down and placed his palm on Fairy Han Wu's forehead. Her skin was cold and smooth to the touch. There was even a delicate fragrance of a virgin on her temples. However, It did not arouse any lustful thoughts in Ning Fan. Ning Fan activated the Black Star technique and slightly repaired Fairy Han Wu's Sea of Consciousness. Fairy Han Wu moaned and woke up. As soon as she opened her beautiful eyes, she saw Ning Fan's action of caressing her forehead. Even though she had cultivated for many years, her face still blushed. "Little friend Ning, what are you doing?" "I'm saving your life." Ning Fan withdrew his palm and briefly told Fairy Han Wu and the four-eyed devil lord about what happened just now. Fairy Han Wu's ears were burning hot. It was her first time being touched by a man on her forehead. The two of them still remembered what happened to the fake Kei Shensi. They still remembered that they almost died. However, they could not remember some crucial details clearly. They just thought that they were harmed by Kei Shensi and their memories were damaged. After hearing that Ning Fan had killed Kei Shensi and saved them, the four-eyed devil lord heaved a long sigh and cupped his fists at Ning Fan solemnly. His face that was as cold as a zombie revealed a rare serious expression. "I can't thank you enough. From today onwards, I will wait for the gate to open and return to Northern Heaven. If Brother Ning has any needs in the future, you can come to the Northern Heaven Corp's Devil Ancient region to look for me. However, if you have any requests, I will climb a mountain of blades and dive into a sea of flames to fulfill your request." It turned out that the surname of this four-eyed devil lord was Chu. "Little friend Ning has saved my life. I have nothing to repay you with. If you have any difficulties in the future, you can come to my vast cold palace in Northern Heaven. I will certainly help you with all my strength to repay your kindness today." Fairy Han Wu's cheeks were slightly red as she said in a low voice. Ning Fan replied indifferently. He did not expect the two of them to repay his kindness. Just as he was about to bring everyone to leave the Snow Valley, his eyes suddenly turned solemn. He halted his footsteps and looked coldly at the void beside him. "Who are you? With your mid-human profound realm cultivation base, how dare you lock your killing intent on me? Have you gone crazy from wanting to die?" As soon as he finished speaking, Ning Fan let out a cold snort. The space between heaven and earth immediately trembled violently. Immediately, a muffled groan resounded from the void beside him. The void cracked and a young Dao child fell out of it. It was Si Ming. However, at this moment, Si Ming was wearing an iron mask on her head which concealed her appearance and chi. That mask was a very powerful spiritual equipment. Its grade was at least at the 10th Nirvana Hotian realm. However, as Ning Fan had seen through her disguise, her chi was in a mess. Thus, Si Ming's mid-human profound realm cultivation base was immediately exposed. Ning Fan's gaze swept across Si Ming and his heart was immediately filled with shock. This person was obviously just at the mid-human profound realm, but he could refine a 10th Nirvana Hotian spiritual equipment. However, he gave Ning Fan an extremely dangerous feeling. That sense of danger did not come from Si Ming herself. Instead, it came from the many life-saving abilities that he possessed. Moreover, Ning Fan did not know why, but he could smell a familiar yet strange qi from Si Ming's body. The four-eyed devil monarch and Fairy Han Wu were shocked. Obviously, they did not know when a human profound realm junior had been hiding in this place. Both Earth Devil and Iron Crow Taoist hurried into the Snow Valley and looked at Ning Fan with shame. If Ning Fan did not expose Si Ming's disguise with a cold snort, they would definitely not know that such a person was hiding in this place. How embarrassing! How embarrassing! Two immortal venerables like them were guarding the Snow Valley, but they actually let a human profound realm junior in. If there is tofu here, they really want to smash their heads against the tofu and die. Humph! You asked me who I am, but I want to ask you who you are. You are not a chess piece that my master set up. You are not Fan Mu. Why are you the one who killed Fan Mu? I see. I understand now. You still have the baleful qi that Fan Mu left behind after his death. It has yet to dissipate. You killed Fan Mu. Si Ming glared at Ning Fan fiercely. She felt that Ning Fan looked very familiar, but she could not remember where she had seen him before. All of a sudden, Si Ming recalled something. She pointed at Ning Fan in disbelief as if she had seen a ghost. So it's you. You are Ning Fan. You are the Dao corpse that my master appointed to me. Your luck is obviously tainted. How can you become an immortal? The moment Ning Fan heard the two words Dao Corpse, his eyes immediately burst out with terrifying killing intent. The memory that had been sealed for many years was awakened by Si Ming's words at this moment. There was once a silver-haired immortal emperor who schemed against his parents and his entire life just to nurture him into a Dao corpse. Ning Fan still did not know who the immortal emperor who schemed against him was. However, at this moment he had a guess. Who is your master? Chapter 886. Who is your master? Ning Fan's eyes flashed with cold light. If he knows who his enemy is, he will definitely take revenge. He was already certain that Si Ming's master was the enemy who schemed against him. Si Ming narrowed his eyes and did not answer Ning Fan's question. The reason why he wore the iron mask to conceal his qi and appearance was to not expose his identity and let others know that his master was plotting against the wild world. Since he had the intention to hide his identity, why would he tell Ning Fan his master's name? With your identity as an ant in the lower world, you don't have the right to know my master's name. Since Fan Mu is already dead, I can only leave this place and inform my master about this matter. Even though Fan Mu is dead, you might be able to replace him and become the 17th chess piece on my master's chessboard. Even though I don't know how you avoided my master's scheme in the past, you can't avoid it this time. Si Ming's tone was arrogant. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately took out a black-red jade talisman and crushed it. A black-red passageway appeared beside him and he leaped into it. It was a barbaric flash passageway. It was a special teleportation ability of the ancient wild world's cultivators. If ordinary people want to leave the wild ancient region, they could only wait for the exit gate that opened once every 10 years. However, Si Ming used that jade talisman to directly summon a teleportation passageway that allowed him to directly return to the Southern Heaven immortal world. Earth Devil, Iron Crow Taoist, Four-Eyed Devil Monarch and Fairy Han Wu's expressions changed. The four of them sensed extreme danger from that barbaric flash passageway. That passageway could only be entered by barbarian cultivators who possessed the power of barbaric flash. Any foreign cultivator who enters would immediately be killed by the law of the world. Ning Fan's eyes became even more solemn. It seemed like Si Ming's identity was much more complicated than what he imagined. It was as if she was an ancient barbarian cultivator who possessed the pure power of barbaric flash. Others might not be able to see through the power of barbaric flash in Si Ming's body, but Ning Fan could. You guys stay here and help me reinforce this passageway. Don't let the entrance of the passageway close. I will enter the passageway alone. As soon as Ning Fan's voice fell, he followed Si Ming and leaped into the passageway to catch up with her. Fairy Han Wu's heart tightened. She did not expect that Ning Fan would directly enter the passageway. She did not know that Ning Fan possessed the calamity blood and cultivated the reckless flash, which made him unafraid of the laws of the passage. Seeing that Ning Fan had already entered the passage, she could only pray to the moon ancestor, hoping that Ning Fan would be fine and escape from the laws of the passage. Thinking of Ning Fan's request, Fairy Han Wu's brows knitted even tighter. She let out a sigh and activated their abilities together with the others to stabilize the entrance of the passageway. If he didn't do that, the entrance would probably close up and disappear on its own in just a few breaths' time. By then, even if he managed to capture Si Ming, he wouldn't be able to return to the desolate lands through the passageway. In just a few breaths' time, Si Ming was already far away in the tunnel. This was a space tunnel formed by the power of brutal flash. Inside the tunnel, Si Ming's body would shatter into ice threads from time to time, and every time she shattered, she would travel a great distance. Just as he was turning into ice and flying away in the passageway, he suddenly sensed that Ning Fan had entered the passageway. Immediately, he frowned. Even though he knew that Ning Fan had killed Fan Mu, he only thought that Ning Fan had the help of Earth Devil, Taoist Iron Crow and other experts. He could only tell that Ning Fan had stepped into the second step, but he could not tell what his exact cultivation base was. In his memory, Ning Fan was just a divine transformation realm cultivator 200 years ago. He was one of the 7 Dao corpses that his master had chosen for him. 200 years had passed. Even if Ning Fan's innate talent was heaven-defying and he had stepped into the second step of Tao cultivation, he would at most be at the profound mortal realm, which was not worth mentioning. I didn't expect this young man to actually have the courage to enter the passageway of brutal flash to chase after me. Interesting. This young man's cultivation base might not be worth mentioning, but he is still a 6-star tribulation spirit with broken blood. I shouldn't underestimate him too much. In the depths of the passageway, Si Ming retracted his traveling light and smiled coldly. Then he turned around and looked at Ning Fan, who was chasing after him. Initially, I wanted to keep you in the desolate lands for the time being. However, since you've already caught up to me, you should return to the southern heaven immortal world with me and meet my master. Heaven's fate net, bind. Si Ming drew out an ice thread from his body and threw it at Ning Fan. That ice thread immediately turned into a net of ice threads, trapping Ning Fan within it in the blink of an eye. This ice net was Si Ming's Tao weapon. Any profound mortal realm cultivator caught in the net would instantly have their magic power frozen and lose their ability to move. Ant of the Rain World, you've already been bound by my Tao weapon. Just come with me obediently, Si Ming said with a faint smile. His expression was calm, as if capturing Ning Fan was a piece of cake to him. However, at the next moment, his smile froze on his face. All of a sudden, a towering black flame burst out from Ning Fan's body, incinerating the entire ice net in an instant. Si Ming let out a muffled groan when his Tao weapon was destroyed. He took a few steps back and coughed out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with shock and anger. The devil flame that Ning Fan used to burn the ice net had already reached the level of the first darkness true fire, one of the 12 darkness true fires. The level of Ning Fan's devil flame was already at the bottleneck of breaking through to the true fire realm. Now that he had broken through to the crossing truth realm, his devil flame naturally broke through to the true fire realm. The first darkness true fire, huh? I didn't expect that a mere profound mortal realm cultivator like you would actually have the true fire that only true immortals can possess. Just as Si Ming's voice fell, he was suddenly hit by a violent aura force. Once again, he coughed out blood and was forced to retreat. He raised his head and breathed rapidly, looking at Ning Fan in disbelief. All of a sudden, Ning Fan's body erupted with a world-shaking killing aura. His intermediate crossing truth realm cultivation base was completely exposed. A cold and emotionless voice suddenly entered Si Ming's ears, causing him to cough out blood and retreat. Who told you that I'm a profound mortal realm cultivator? Ning Fan stared at Si Ming coldly. The killing intent in his eyes intensified. He had already been schemed against by Si Ming's master once. Because of that, his father lost his memory and one of his arms. His mother lost her demon blood and turned into a stone statue, suffering for 1,000 years. He would never give Si Ming's master another chance to scheme against him. He would never let Si Ming return to the South Heaven immortal world alive. Intermediate crossing truth realm? This is impossible. Si Ming fell into an unprecedented shock. He had never heard of anyone who could cultivate from the spirit-severing realm to the crossing truth realm in just 200 years. Even an immortal emperor's follower with a peerless aptitude like him could not have such a cultivation speed. Even among the great ancient emperors, only a few of them could have such a cultivation speed. No wonder my master once said that you're the most suitable Tao corpse for me. It's really a pity that I couldn't devour you in the past. However, so what if you're Duzhen? I have the divine ability that my master has given me. It's as easy as flipping my hand to bring you back to the South Heaven immortal world. Si Ming touched his glabella with one of his fingers and pulled it outwards. A dark red aurora flashed and a 5-colored pearl that seemed to be real appeared in his hand. He raised his hand and threw it at Ning Fan's head. Each color of the 5-colored pearl corresponded to one of the 5 elements. When the pearl was thrown down, the 5 elements would merge into one. Even a peak crossing truth expert would be killed in a single strike. Facing such a pearl, even an ordinary void being would have to be wary. However, Ning Fan neither dodged nor evaded it. He just pointed his finger forward and the five-colored pearl immediately trembled violently. Its momentum dissipated and it fell on Ning Fan's palm. Ning Fan opened his mouth and directly swallowed it into his stomach for refinement. Ning Fan possessed the great five elements physique. With his current cultivation base, he was not afraid of the power of the five elements at all. I'm going to ask you again. Who is your master? Ning Fan asked coldly. Si Ming's expression changed again. She gritted her teeth and snorted. You don't have the right to know my master's name. While speaking, Si Ming touched his glabella again and drew out a ray of six-colored light. Then she raised her hand and threw it at Ning Fan. It was a six-colored formation diagram called the Six Extremes diagram. It was a life-saving divine ability that immortal Emperor Yunzhang refined by extracting the spirit of the treasure diagram. It was powerful enough to trap a mid-void being cultivator inside the treasure diagram and kill him. As soon as the six-colored light landed on Ning Fan, a gigantic formation diagram immediately appeared beneath his feet. Within the formation diagram, the shadows of six gigantic beasts gradually appeared. Each of them stood on one of the legs of the formation diagram and roared at the sky. Without a doubt, the six shadows of the beasts were savage beasts. As the formation diagram was activated, the six beasts opened their mouths at the same time and breathed out six rays of barbaric flash which whistled towards Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not dodge or evade. Instead, he used both of his hands to activate the secret word, force, instantly changing the momentum of the formation diagram beneath his feet. The formation diagram beneath his feet immediately crumbled. The shadows of the six savage beasts were all destroyed. As for the six rays of barbaric flash which were initially attacking Ning Fan, they instantly changed their direction and headed towards Si Ming. To Ning Fan, who had comprehended the secret word, force, a killing formation of this level was useless. Not good. Without any hesitation, Si Ming pressed her finger on her glabella again and drew out a beast soul from it. Then she threw it forward. It was a unicorn with gray scales and horns. Its aura force was almost close to that of a thought fragmentation old monster. Facing the six rays of barbaric flash which were coming at it, the unicorn directly opened its mouth and swallowed the rays of barbaric flash which were powerful enough to kill a mid-void being cultivator. Then it let out a burp. This beast was the third life-saving divine ability that immortal Emperor Yunzhang gave to Si Ming. With this beast, even an early thought fragmentation old monster might not be able to defeat Si Ming. After summoning this beast, Si Ming's expression finally regained some calmness. The way she looked at Ning Fan also became arrogant again. Are you going to follow me back to Southern Heaven obediently or force me to attack you? Ning Fan glanced at the unicorn and knew that he was no match for it with his current strength. He could only rely on the power of the spiritual puppets. The power of Yin Yang Rain and War Yin Yang was instantly unsealed by Ning Fan. Then, he activated the War God Art and Soul Extraction technique to their limits. Ning Fan's chi began to rise rapidly. In just a few breaths, it had already reached the mid-void being cultivator, which made Si Ming shocked again. If it wasn't for the divine ability that her master gave her, she wouldn't even be able to stand in front of Ning Fan. Ning Fan's chi force was too strong. He's not an ant. Compared to him, I'm the ant. Si Ming clenched her fists unwillingly. Her jealousy towards Ning Fan had increased. Initially, she wanted to capture Ning Fan and bring him back to Southern Heaven. Now, she just wanted to kill him on the spot. She could not bear the feeling of being looked down upon by the person who used to be an ant. Fate will beast bite him to death. Si Ming bit the tip of her tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood mist towards the unicorn. When the blood mist entered the unicorn's body, its eyes immediately turned bloodshot. Its body went berserk and it let out a roar towards the sky. All of a sudden, the unicorn split into two, then into four and then into eight. In just a few moments, it had turned into tens of thousands of beast shadows, rushing towards Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes darkened. The attack of this unicorn was extremely difficult to defend against. If he doesn't summon his spiritual puppets, he would most likely die under its attack. What made Ning Fan feel even more solemn was the sense of danger that Si Ming gave him. There were 3 types of life-saving divine abilities in Si Ming's body. The unicorn was the 3rd type. However, the thing that gave Ning Fan the strongest sense of danger was not the unicorn. In other words, Si Ming still had a supreme treasure that was much stronger than the unicorn. The attacks of the tens of thousands of beast shadows stirred up a strong gust of wind, causing Ning Fan's black hair to dance wildly. He was like a lonely boat in the middle of the vast ocean that would sink to the bottom of the sea at any time. Amidst the roars of the beasts, Ning Fan waved his hand and summoned a puppet. The puppet grew in the wind and turned into a cloaked puppet. Ning Fan's 10 fingers were wrapped with the 6 desires puppet threads. He activated his divine ability and the puppet divided into 10, then 100 and then 1,000. In an instant, there were tens of thousands of virtual puppets. They waved their fists and clashed against the beast's divine ability. The shadows of the beasts crumbled one after another. The same went for the puppets. After the last clash, the unicorn let out a miserable groan and revealed itself. Then, it was sent flying backwards like a kite with a broken string. After all, it was not a real demonic beast. It was just a virtual shadow that could only be used once. Now that its power had been exhausted, it was naturally on the verge of dissipating. The cloaked puppet was also heavily damaged. There were already many cracks on its body. This is the thought-breaking puppet. Si Ming gasped. There were not many puppets of this level in the entire Southern Heaven Immortal world. Ning Fan actually had one. She had already used up the 3 life-saving divine abilities that her master had given her. However, she still could not defeat Ning Fan. At this moment, she was a little afraid of Ning Fan. The life-saving divine abilities that my master had given me have already been used up. It's not a good idea to continue fighting with this brat. It's better for me to return to Southern Heaven as soon as possible. Si Ming swallowed her saliva. She activated the invisibility divine ability of the Iron Mask, trying to escape. However, just as her body disappeared into the world, she was shaken by Ning Fan's aura force again, forcing her to reveal herself. At the next moment, Si Ming felt a chill on her back. To her surprise, the cloaked puppet appeared in front of her and threw a punch at her head. The punch from the thought-breaking puppet was extremely powerful. How could Si Ming resist it without any life-saving divine abilities? The iron mask of the 10th Nirvana Hotian realm was directly shattered into pieces by the cloaked puppet's punch. Si Ming's head was directly smashed by the cloaked puppet's punch. However, not a single drop of blood flowed out. Along with Si Ming's body, Si Ming's head exploded into ice shards. As the ice threads shattered and condensed, Si Ming's delicate and pretty face was revealed. Her body reformed 10,000 zhang away. Incarnation technique? No, it's not. It's not an ordinary incarnation technique. Ning Fan activated the puppet strings. The cloaked puppet instantly appeared 10,000 zhang away and punched Si Ming again. Si Ming's corpse continued to shatter and reform into ice threads. No matter how many times it shattered, it still did not die. This person is actually so difficult to kill. Ning Fan's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. He could clearly feel that each of his attacks had accurately killed Si Ming. However, he did not know why Si Ming could come back to life every time he died. It was really strange. Ning Fan, you can't kill me. You can't kill me. I have the undying devil veins. I have the devil veins physique of the strongest immortal emperor under the immortal sovereign in the ancient immortal domain. You can't kill me. Why do you think my master would favor me with my insignificant cultivation base? Where do you think the 2 words Si Ming came from? Si Ming, Si Ming. I control the fate of heaven and earth. Who in this world can kill me? Si Ming laughed arrogantly. She dashed towards Ning Fan fearlessly and directly detonated her primordial spirit. Ning Fan was naturally not afraid of the self-detonation of a mid-human profound realm cultivator. With a wave of his hand, he neutralized the self-detonation wave. However, what shocked him was that Si Ming was still alive even after detonating her primordial spirit. Her undying physique was simply heaven-defying. Don't you want to know my master's name? Now, I will tell you. My master is one of the 4 great immortal emperors of the southern heaven immortal world. Immortal emperor who controls fate. My master bestowed the name, Si Ming, to me in an attempt to nurture me into the next immortal emperor who controls fate. I am the 7th chess piece on my master's chessboard. If I become the immortal emperor who controls fate, my master will be able to control Si Ming's fate. Who in the illusory world can be his match? I originally didn't want to tell you about this. However, since I have already decided to kill you here, there's no harm in telling you. Star Luo chess piece appear. Si Ming punched her chest, creating a bloody hole. Then she took out a black chess piece from it. As she had cultivated the undying devil veins, the bloody hole on her chest immediately healed at an extremely fast speed. That was the devil vein ability of the strongest immortal emperor under immortal sovereign Zido, the undying great emperor. Throughout the ages, only that great emperor had the special physique to cultivate this devil vein. Si Ming was the second person who had the undying physique in the world. In fact, her undying devil veins were far from being completed and she was far from being immortal. If Si Ming cultivates to the immortal emperor realm, she might really possess an immortal and immortal body, just like the undying great emperor. Green light flickered in Ning Fan's eyes. His gaze swept across Si Ming and the chess piece in her hand. With his eyesight, he gradually discovered some clues about Si Ming's physique. You aren't truly immortal. Your cultivation base is still low. Even if you have the undying physique, you can't truly be immortal. It will just take me some effort to kill you. Moreover, the disadvantage of this physique is too great. Even though you have the ability to be immortal, you can't cultivate it to the peak of the Tao. Ning Fan's astonishment towards the undying devil veins gradually faded away. What replaced it was killing intent and lamenting. That killing intent was uncontrollable because he knew the identity of his enemy. That lamenting was because even though the undying devil veins were powerful, it was a type of devil veins that gave up on death and chose life. The great Tao of this devil veins was incomplete. Because of this defect, the cultivator could only reach the immortal emperor realm at most, unable to advance to the 3rd step of the saint realm. The undying great emperor was the strongest immortal emperor under immortal sovereign Zido. However, he would only be an immortal emperor for eternity. His immortality was still limited. At least, he couldn't be immortal in front of those peak saints. His astonishment towards the undying devil veins had subsided. Instead, his astonishment towards the Star Luo chess piece increased. Ning Fan sensed an extremely dangerous feeling from the Star Luo chess piece in Si Ming's hand. He was extremely sure that the most dangerous thing in Si Ming's body was this tiny chess piece. This chess piece was originally going to be given to Fan Mu. However, since you've killed him, I'll use this chess piece to kill you. Karma, here. Star Luo open. The chess piece turned into a ray of black light and disappeared in a flash. Before Ning Fan could react, a chess piece directly appeared in his body. Even with Ning Fan's eyesight, he could not detect how the chess piece entered his body. Only when the chess piece appeared in his body did a ray of black light shoot towards Ning Fan's chest. Ning Fan tried to stop that ray of black light but realized that he could not stop it at all. The ray of black light immediately retreated while coughing out blood. The pure black power of karma intertwined around his body, turning his white robes black. With your cultivation base, you won't be able to block the attack of the Star Luo chess piece at all. This is the reversal of karma. First, there's the effect of the chess piece entering your body. Then, there's the cause of the black light shooting towards your chest. How can you block its power when you can't see through karma? What my master seeks in his life is luck and fate. The so-called fate is made up of countless karmic connections. On this chessboard of heaven and earth, you're just a tiny chess piece. You won't be able to break free. As soon as Si Ming's voice fell, an illusory purple-golden chessboard appeared beneath Ning Fan's feet. On the chessboard, black and white chess pieces were facing each other. He was just one of the black chess pieces. The pure black power of karma was corroding Ning Fan's body crazily. His body gradually became unable to move, but the cold light in his eyes became sharper. The illusory chessboard beneath his feet was crazily devouring his Tao experience, his cultivation base, and all of his karma. He did not want to be devoured by the chessboard. He did not want to become a chess piece. If he did not want to, even the star Luo chess of the immortal emperor could not devour him. Karma, fate. So what if it was fate? So what if it was luck? As long as I cut off a part of fate, this chessboard of karma would immediately collapse. What's so scary about it? 5 yin-yang swords. The first sword move, heavenly sword appears. Ning Fan's body suddenly shone with 4 colors. Those 4 colors were the colors of luck. Si Ming's expression suddenly changed. She could not imagine that Ning Fan actually had the luck of a 4-colored immortal luck. You obviously tainted your own luck with black. How can it be a 4-colored immortal luck? Just as Si Ming was about to say something, her expression suddenly changed. The 4-colored luck in Ning Fan's hand slowly condensed into a 4-colored heavenly sword. Without saying a word, he swung the sword at the illusory image of the chessboard of karma. 10 rays, 100 rays, 1,000 rays. More and more 4-colored sword light fell on the chessboard of karma. 10,000 rays, 100,000 rays, 1,000,000 rays. Ning Fan suddenly roared at the sky. His devil roar shook the world and blood flames soared to the sky. His voice and will merged into the 1,000,000 rays of sword light, as if he was going to cut off all the luck in this world. The 5 yin-yang swords, the heavenly sword severing luck. It could sever all the luck in this world. With Ning Fan's current cultivation base, he could at most use the heavenly sword of fate with his strong luck. He could not display the other 4 swords. That was why he simplified the 5 yin-yang swords and switched to the 5 swords of rain and the 5 swords of battle. Even though he could only display the first sword move of the 5 yin-yang swords, this sword move was enough to shatter all the luck in the illusory chessboard beneath his feet. Ning Fan spurted out a mouthful of blood essence, increasing the power of the 1,000,000 rays of 4-colored sword light to the maximum. The power of luck in the illusory chessboard began to crumble. The cracks on the chessboard were like wriggling horned dragons that were tearing the chessboard apart. As the number of cracks increased, the chessboard could no longer withstand the impact of the 4-colored sword light and shattered with a loud bang. The black chess piece that went into Ning Fan's body suddenly exploded inside his body. Immediately, it blasted a hideous bloody hole on his chest and shattered all of his ribs. Even though the chessboard was destroyed by Ning Fan, the chess piece still severely injured Ning Fan. If the chessboard remained, Ning Fan would definitely be killed by the chess piece in an instant. That chess piece was a supreme treasure that immortal Emperor Fate Master had painstakingly refined. Even he did not have many chess pieces in his possession. It was already rare for him to bestow one to Si Ming. Naturally, he would not give her a second one. Si Ming looked at the illusory chessboard that was constantly crumbling in disbelief and swallowed her saliva. If she was not mistaken, Ning Fan had already broken free from the restraint of the star chess piece and destroyed it. Is this person really just Du Zhen? Even if he's the broken thought's old monster, he certainly wouldn't be able to break free once he gets hit by the star chess piece. How did he break free? While Si Ming was still in shock, she suddenly felt a sharp pain on her arm. Her right arm was actually cut off by Ning Fan's sword. Since he possessed the undying devil veins, it was extremely easy for him to recover a severed right arm. However, at this moment, his severed right arm could not be regrown at all. How could this be? Why did my undying devil veins lose their effect? What kind of sword light is that? Si Ming looked at Ning Fan with a terrified expression. However, she saw that the 4-colored heavenly sword in Ning Fan's hand had already dissipated and turned into a long sword that had black and white intertwining patterns. The heavenly sword severs fate while the mortal sword severs life. At the end of the day, the undying devil veins is just a physique that has boundless fate. With the mortal sword and the life sword, it's enough to kill you. I can't even use 1,000th of the mortal sword's power. It's not suitable for combat. However, it's more than enough to kill you now. After all, in my eyes, you are just a human profound realm ant without my master's protection. I can destroy you with just a flick of my finger. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with a terrifying cold light. The mortal sword in his hand gave Si Ming a feeling that death was inevitable. Si Ming would never know that even though the undying Great Emperor was the strongest Great Emperor under the immortal sovereign, he was once severely injured by the ancient Chaos Great Emperor. The reason why the ancient Chaos Great Emperor could injure the undying Great Emperor was because of the life-slaying sword of the 5 yin-yang swords. This sword could sever all undying beings in the world. Even the undying Great Emperor would find it hard to withstand the power of this sword. This sword light can actually injure the undying devil veins. It's simply heaven-defying. This isn't good. I'm no match for him. I must retreat. Si Ming's face was filled with fear. His body flashed and immediately turned into an ice thread to escape. Unfortunately, in terms of speed, how could he outrun Ning Fan, who was using the golden light on the ground? Ning Fan used the golden light on the ground and instantly appeared in front of Si Ming. Without saying a word, he swung his sword again. This slash directly left a hideous sword wound on Si Ming's chest that could not be healed. Blood spurted out like arrows. At this moment, Si Ming was really afraid. If he knew that Ning Fan had such a heaven-defying life-slaying sword, he would never be willing to become Ning Fan's enemy no matter what. Currently, he no longer had any life-saving treasures. With his mid-profound mortal realm cultivation base, he was no different from a mortal in front of Ning Fan. He had no strength to resist at all. You can't kill me. If you kill me, my master will certainly not let you go. As long as you're willing to let me go. Before Si Ming could finish his words, Ning Fan interrupted him coldly. If I don't kill you, your master won't let me go either. Before his voice faded away, his sword had already swung down, directly cutting Si Ming into 2 halves from the middle. That sword light was too fast. It was so fast that Si Ming did not even have the chance to scream before he died with hatred. In the immortal palace of the southern heaven immortal world, the immortal emperor who was playing chess with his eldest disciple with a smile suddenly became furious. He smashed the chessboard in front of him with a palm strike. His eldest disciple was called Si Kong. He was a late thought fragmentation realm cultivator. He wore green robes and looked as gentle as jade. Seeing that his master, who rarely got angry, was actually angry, Si Kong was greatly surprised. He carefully asked, "Master, please calm down. Can you tell me what happened?" Si Ming is dead. The immortal emperor closed his eyes, trying to suppress the anger in his heart and calm himself down. The exposed green veins on his forehead silently showed how angry he was at the moment. What? Junior brother Si Ming is actually dead. This is absolutely impossible. He has the undying devil veins. Even though his cultivation base is low, it's impossible for him to die. Unless he encountered an immortal emperor. Si Kong's eyes darkened. He seemed to have confirmed that the one who killed Si Ming was an immortal emperor. I really want to see which immortal emperor killed a junior of the human profound realm regardless of his status. Si Ming is an important chess piece of mine. Without him, my dream of controlling Si Ming has become nothing. Hateful. Hateful. Prepare the sacrificial offerings. I want to go to the Star Observatory. No matter who killed Si Ming, they must pay the price. Chapter 887. Inside the passageway of the barbaric flash, after Ning Fan collected Si Ming's storage pouch, he activated the Black Star technique to heal the bloody hole in his chest. At the same time, he performed the soul-searching technique on a skull that had died with grievances. After searching his soul for a while, Ning Fan exerted his palm force and shattered the head into a mist of blood. His eyes were filled with uncertainty. After so many years, he finally found the immortal emperor who schemed against him. After further confirmation, there was no doubt that the enemy was the immortal emperor master of fate. From Si Ming's memories, Ning Fan learned that immortal emperor Luck Master had schemed against thousands of cultivators in his life. Among them, there were vein-opening realm juniors and immortal venerables of all ages. Ning Fan was just one of the insignificant ones, I can't believe that immortal Emperor Fate Mastering schemed against me just to make me the Tao corpse of his disciple, Si Ming. Immortal Emperor Fate, one of the 4 great immortal emperors of the Southern Heaven immortal world. His cultivation base is at the 8th eternal tribulation. Given my cultivation base, it's enough to kill Si Ming, but it's far from enough to take revenge on him. In Si Ming's memory, she also mentioned the special identity of the immortal Emperor Master Luck. He seemed to be inextricably linked to the Wildlands and the Tai Tsong tribulation spirit. However, all the memories related to him had been erased by the immortal Emperor Master Luck. This method of erasing memories is clearly the same as the method of erasing my father's memories. There's no way to recover it. That's how my father lost his memories? Ning Fan's eyes were filled with reminiscence. All of a sudden, he clenched his fists tightly and closed his eyes helplessly. He had always been a person who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. Naturally, he would seek revenge from the immortal Emperor Master of Fate, but now that his cultivation base was not high enough, it was not the time for him to seek revenge. He could only endure. One day, I will kill my way to the Fate Master Immortal Palace and settle the old scores with the Fate Master. But before that, it's not good to let the Fate Master Immortal Palace know that I killed his disciple. Green light flashed in Ning Fan's eyes. He bent his palm and clawed at the air in front of him. Then he actually drew out thousands of karmic blood threads from the remaining blood mist in the air. These bloodlines were the karma caused by Ning Fan killing Si Ming. In the past, he naturally could not see the karmic bloodlines. But now, he was already one of the few second-level heaven-being realm cultivators in the world. It was not difficult for him to see the karmic bloodlines. Naturally, with his cultivation base in the crossing truth, he could at most rely on the oneness of heaven and man to see and touch the cause and effect, but he could not strip it away. Fortunately, he still had the innate ghost mask, which had the power to strip away karma. Ning Fan waved his hand and wiped it across his face, summoning the ghost face. He activated the ghost face's power and removed all the karmic bloodlines that were entangling his body. Therefore, no matter how powerful the divination technique of the Celestial Emperor was, he couldn't find out who the culprit was. Ning Fan did not throw away the karmic blood strings that had been stripped away. Instead, they were sealed by the ghost face's power for other purposes. From Si Ming's memories, Ning Fan learned that immortal Emperor Luck Mastery would always go to the Star Observatory and make 3 deductions before he does anything. It was a habit that he had developed over the years. If he could find out who the murderer was based on his deductions, he would definitely not send someone else to investigate the matter. However, if the immortal Emperor Mastery Luck couldn't find the culprit, he might use other methods to find the culprit. After understanding this habit of immortal Emperor Fate Master, Ning Fan came up with a plan. He temporarily kept the sealed karmic bloodlines and scanned Si Ming's storage pouch with his divine sense. Inside the storage pouch were items commonly used by mortal profound cultivators. They were useless to him, but there were a few barbaric flash jade talismans that piqued his interest. The barbaric flash jade talismans could open a passageway to the ancient Wildlands region and return to any of the 4 heavens' immortal realms. With these jade talismans, if necessary, I can leave the Wildlands and return to Eastern Heaven. He erased the restrictions on the jade talisman and planted a new one with his blood essence. Only by doing so could he activate the power of the jade talisman. After keeping the puppet and the jade talisman, Ning Fan dispersed his ghostly face and left the passageway. Not long after Ning Fan left, a rainbow-colored eyeball suddenly appeared in the sky of the passageway. The eyeball was filled with rage. As soon as it appeared, the killing intent immediately turned into a 7-colored divine light that spread out in all directions. Unfortunately, the rainbow divine light did not find anyone in the tunnel, so it could not deduce who killed Si Ming. This was the first time the immortal Emperor Luck Master had tried to deduce the cause and effect, but he failed. Even though Ning Fan did not see the appearance of the rainbow-colored eyeball, he sensed something when the immortal Emperor Luck Master was deducing the cause and effect. At the peak of the Wind Thunder Mountain in the immortal palace of Fortune Master, the immortal Emperor Luck Master threw the wooden sword in his hand on the incense table after his deduction failed. His expression was filled with shock and anger. Humph! It can actually conceal the cause and effect. I guess the person who killed Si Ming must have some kind of secret treasure that can conceal the cause and effect. I can only deduce once every 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I can only deduce the cause and effect for the second time. Next time, I will use both the barbaric and tribulation power to enhance my deduction. I don't believe I can't deduce the culprit. Outside the Yellow River Snow Valley, 7 void shedders of the demon race had already rushed into the valley. They were fighting against 2 Mo, Taya and the others. Among them, there were 2 peak void shedders, 3 early void shedders and 2 mid void shedders. These demon cultivators were all from the Turtle Clan. They possessed the secret talisman of the Turtle Clan which allowed them to ignore the power of the Blood River and directly enter the Snow Valley. They were the first batch of demons to enter the valley. As for the demon cultivators of the other clans, they could not come to the Snow Valley because of the Blood River. Hence, they were temporarily guarding the outer perimeter of the valley. 2 Mo and Taoist Taya each faced a peak void shedder tortoise demon. After all, the 2 of them only had the body of a broken divine sense. Besides, they still needed to maintain the stability of the passage. Thus, they could not defeat their opponents in a short time and could only fight to a draw. The 4-eyed Devil Sovereign had already summoned 3 early Void Shedder Tortoise puppets to fight against 3 early Void Shedder Tortoise demons alone. Controlling 3 Void Shedder puppets at the same time made him feel a little powerless. Fairy Cold Dance, on the other hand, faced 2 mid-Void Shedder Tortoise demons alone. One of them was a tall and skinny old man while the other was a short and plump old woman. The 2 of them were actually a pair of Dao companions. The 2 mid-Void Shedder Tortoise demons had great teamwork. When they worked together, they could even put up a fight against a late Void Shedder Tortoise demon. Fairy Cold Dance was already injured in the first place. Moreover, she had to divert her attention to activate her ability and maintain the activation of the passage. Thus, she was naturally not a match for the 2 tortoise demons. In just a few rounds of fighting, 3 to 4 wounds were left on her body. Even so, Fairy Cold Dance did not forget Ningfan's request. She always remembered to maintain the stability of the entrance of the passage and wait for Ningfan's safe return. 70% of her magic power was used to maintain the stability of the entrance while the remaining 30% was used to fight against the 2 mid-Void Shedder Tortoise demons. She could not tell what she was feeling at the moment. It was probably because she wanted to repay Ningfan for saving her life. If the entrance disappears, Ningfan would not be able to come out. The tall and skinny old man was a man of few words. He had a cold and indifferent personality. His Dao weapon was a poisonous blade. The short and plump old woman, on the other hand, constantly let out a hoarse and unpleasant laughter. She activated a flying sword made of black mist and attacked Cold Dance's vital parts with each of her attacks. Old poisonous creature, look at this human Void Shedder Tortoise. She looks so delicate. Do you want me to capture her and let her be your poisonous cauldron? No need. Just kill her directly. I only need to extract her primordial spirit to refine my poison. The tall and skinny old man said coldly. That's exactly what I want. I'll give you her primordial spirit to refine your poison. However, her corpse must be left for me to feed to the corpse tortoise. Speaking of which, I don't know what's wrong with this human girl. She's obviously severely injured and her strength is obviously weaker than both of us. However, she still dares to use only 30% of her strength to fight against us. Instead, she left 70% of her strength to stabilize the entrance of the passage. Is there someone important to her inside the entrance? The short and plump old woman let out a sinister laugh. Suddenly, she changed the direction of her flying sword. Instead of attacking Fairy Cold Dance, she slashed at the entrance of the passage, trying to destroy the entrance. Fairy Cold Dance's heart tightened. With a tap of her foot, she stood in front of the entrance of the passage. She waved her moonlight waterfall and deflected the flying sword, protecting the entrance of the passage. However, because of that, she revealed a flaw. The tall and skinny old man seized the opportunity and slashed at her with his poisonous blade, adding another deep wound on her arm. Black blood kept flowing out of the wound. Obviously, she had been poisoned by the demon poison. Damn it. It's actually the secret poison of the corpse tortoise race. Fairy Cold Dance's lips began to turn purple. Traces of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth, carrying a hint of sweet fragrance. Her heart sank. If it wasn't to protect the entrance of the passage, she would certainly not be cut by the poisonous blade. Now that she was poisoned by the secret poison of the corpse tortoise, it was rather troublesome. If she uses all of her magic power, she would be able to force out the demon poison. However, she had no time to do so at the moment. Under the corrosion of the demon poison, her consciousness became blurry and her magic power weakened bit by bit. However, she still did not forget to guard the entrance of the passage for him. Even though she had only met Ning Fan a few times, she did not want him to be in any danger. Perhaps, this feeling of hers was because she wanted to repay him for saving her life. It's unknown whether he's dead or alive after entering this passage. If he loses the entrance, it will be difficult for him to return. His life might be in danger. We must stabilize the entrance. We can't let it disappear. We can't let these two tortoise demons continue to attack the entrance. Fairy Cold Dance's lotus steps became more and more unsteady. Her beautiful face became paler and paler while her breathing became heavier. She was relying on her willpower to support herself and not allow herself to faint. The short and plump old woman smiled coldly. Suddenly, she used a magic treasure made of turtle tendons and bound one of Fairy Cold Dance's wrists. Then, she wielded her sword and pierced her dantian. No, not good. Fairy Cold Dance could not break free from the restraint of the turtle tendons. Seeing that she was about to be pierced by the old woman, she was feeling nervous. All of a sudden, a golden light flashed in front of her and a white-robed figure appeared. She immediately felt relieved and smiled. It's him. He has returned safely. The old woman who was aiming at Fairy Cold Dance with her sword was naturally shocked when she saw a white-robed figure appearing in front of her. Before she could react, she was already forced back by the Dao sword that the white-robed young man slashed out. Her expression immediately turned grim. That white-robed young man was none other than Ning Fan, who had returned from the passage of the barbaric flash. With another slash, he cut off the turtle tendons that were binding Fairy Cold Dance. As soon as they saw Ning Fan's return, Tu Mo and Taiyo were overjoyed. They knew that strong reinforcements had appeared. The expressions of the 7 Shikong demons changed. At this moment, Ning Fan had yet to seal the power of the rain and the war god art. He had only dispersed the soul-extracting technique, which he could not maintain for a long time, and the secret techniques of the war god art. His aura force was still comparable to that of the Shikong demons. None of them dared to underestimate him. "Are your injuries all right?" Fairy Cold Dance said to Ning Fan. Her tone was flat and clear, but Ning Fan could hear a hint of concern in her voice. Ning Fan was severely injured by the star-scattered chess piece. Even though the bloody hole in his chest had healed, his chi had yet to recover to its peak state. This did not escape Fairy Cold Dance's eyes at all. "I'm fine. I'll just block the two of them. You rest at the side and suppress the demon poison in your body." Ning Fan sighed softly. If he was one step late, even if Fairy Cold Dance did not die, she would have been severely injured by the old woman's turtle demon sword. With Ning Fan's eyesight, he could naturally see that Fairy Cold Dance had split her magic power in order to stabilize the passage of the barbaric flash. That was why she was defeated so quickly. Even if this lady knows how to repay his kindness, she did not seem to need to risk her life like this. "Old woman, be careful." Even though this young man's Shikong cultivation base was raised using a secret technique and he is not the true Shikong, his abilities are not weak. You can't underestimate him. The thin and tall old man who had been silent all this while looked at Ning Fan solemnly and suddenly said, "Old poisonous creature, you are too cautious. Even if this young man uses a secret technique, his strength is only at the early Shikong demon realm. It's not worth mentioning. You deal with this young man. I will go and kill that little girl first." The short and plump old woman smiled sinisterly and took the lead to activate her ability. The black mist flying sword in her hand immediately turned into the shadow of a giant turtle and dashed towards Fairy Cold Dance. She did not plan to give Fairy Cold Dance any chance to force the demon poison out of her body. While she was attacking Fairy Cold Dance, she also shot out a ray of black cold light at Ning Fan's glabella. It was a poisonous turtle-tooth nail. If this nail pierces through the glabella, even a mid-Shakong demon realm cultivator would have his Naiwan sealed and die. The reason why she diverted her attention to plot against Ning Fan was because she did not put him in her eyes. However, she did not know that Ning Fan also did not put her in his eyes. Time was running out. Ning Fan still had other matters to attend to. Thus, he did not want to stay in this place for too long. Thus, he directly took out the thought-breaking puppet. There was a puppet in front of Ning Fan. The poisonous turtle-tooth nail only pierced into the puppet slightly and did not cause any substantial damage to it. With a thought in his mind, a multicolored net immediately appeared between heaven and earth, trapping the old woman within it. Only the old woman's sword light penetrated the net and continued to slash at Fairy Cold Dance. The puppet tilted its body and threw a punch. That punch immediately formed an unimaginably strong wind, easily shattering the short and plump old woman's flying sword. Then, it threw another punch directly through the multicolored net, sending the old woman flying away while coughing out blood. Even her turtle bones were broken. When the third punch landed, the puppet directly destroyed half of the old woman's head. Fresh blood flowed and dyed the ground red. When the puppet threw another punch, the old woman's demon soul did not even have the chance to escape. She was directly killed by the puppet within the multicolored net, leaving not even her bones behind. None of the Shakong demon realm cultivators present expected that Ning Fan would have such a terrifying puppet. With just a few punches, it killed a mid-Shakong demon realm cultivator. The puppet's mid-thought fragmentation realm chi made all the demon cultivators shudder. Their expressions changed greatly. Earth Devil and Taoist Iron Crow had already seen Ning Fan's thought fragmentation puppet before. Naturally, they would not find it strange. However, it was the Four-Eyed Devil Monarch and Fairy Han Wu's first time seeing this puppet. Both of them were quite surprised. With Ning Fan and the thought fragmentation puppet participating in the battle, Earth Devil and Taoist Iron Crow's confidence was greatly boosted. The remaining 6 Shakong demon tortoises were eliminated by them without any suspense. None of them managed to escape. Earth Devil, you seem to know an earth escape technique called Earth Cave, right? Bring them away first and wait for me at this place. Green light flashed across Ning Fan's eyes. He glanced at Earth Devil. Just a single glance seemed to have seen through him. Ning Fan casually tossed a jade slip with a map to Earth Devil. His tone left no room for refusal. When Ning Fan's gaze landed on him, Earth Devil was inwardly shocked. He felt as if he was being seen through. Then he nodded his head. He did not have the intention to disobey Ning Fan's order. Old Monster Earth had once used a type of earth cave technique to bring everyone into the Snow Valley. It was extremely secretive. That earth cave escape technique was actually Earth Devil's signature ability. With this ability, it would not be difficult for Earth Devil to bring everyone out of the Snow Valley without anyone noticing. Aren't you going to evacuate with us? Fairy Han Wu's beautiful eyes were filled with worry. I have some matters to attend to. I will meet up with all of you later. Ning Fan did not explain too much. What he needed to do was to solve the problem of the karmic bloodline. It was a matter of great importance. Even though he had a good impression of Fairy Han Wu, it was not enough for him to tell her all of his secrets. I understand. Little friend Ning, be careful. After you are done with your matters, meet up with me and the others as soon as possible. Fairy Han Wu let out a faint sigh. She also understood that it was impossible for them to talk too much since they were not close. It was the right thing for Ning Fan to hold back from her. However, for some unknown reason, she still felt an inexplicable sourness in her heart. In the end, she followed Earth Devil and the others and used the Earth Cave technique to quietly leave the barrier of the Yellow River. After everyone left, Ning Fan kept his spiritual puppets and summoned Ghost Face with a wave of his hand. His silver hair danced wildly in the air. Stepping on a golden rainbow, he soared into the sky and flew across the Blood River. After activating Ghostface's invisibility, he directly smashed the barrier of the Yellow River and left. Many experts of the demon race noticed the collapse of the barrier. However, Ning Fan immediately activated Ghostface's invisibility. Thus, no one knew what happened. At the same time, the entire ancient wild region began to rain heavily. That rainstorm was caused by Ning Fan's heaven-peaking rain technique. With the help of the heaven-peaking rain technique, Ning Fan quickly found traces of old ancestor poisonous dragon in the 4th region of the wild region. Without any hesitation, Ning Fan moved stealthily all the way to the 4th region. In the demon army's main tent in the 4th region of the 42 regions of the wild region. At this moment, old ancestor poisonous dragon was sitting cross-legged in the main tent of the military camp at the front line. His eyes were closed as he adjusted his breathing. He had already heard about the incident that happened in the Yellow River Snow Valley. However, he did not take it to heart and only sent some people to support the Snow Valley. His current responsibility was to watch over the main tent of the demon army. Thus, he could not leave easily. While he was adjusting his breathing, it started to rain heavily outside the tent. The downpour was like a torrential downpour, and the sound of the rain was disorderly. It caused him to have an inexplicable feeling of apprehension, as if something bad was about to happen. What old ancestor poisonous dragon did not know was that Ning Fan had already activated Ghostface's invisibility at this very moment and was already 1,000 zhang away from the main tent. The distance of 1,000 zhang was already Ning Fan's limit. If he goes any closer, old ancestor poisonous dragon would still notice him even with Ghostface's invisibility. Old man poisonous dragon, you shot me with the candle bow and the 7-colored arrow that day. Today, I will return you a great gift. Ning Fan waved his hand and took out the karmic blood strings that were sealed. After unsealing them, he tossed them towards old ancestor poisonous dragon's tent. As soon as those blood strings got close to the main tent, old ancestor poisonous dragon immediately noticed them. Unfortunately, it was already too late when he wanted to dodge them. He was already entangled by those karmic blood strings. These are karmic blood strings? Strange. I haven't killed anyone yet. Why would I attract karmic blood strings? Strange. It's really strange. Old ancestor poisonous dragon muttered to himself. Suddenly his old eyes turned gloomy. He activated his reverse spirit technique and scanned across the demon army's camp. However, he did not find anything unusual. He could not help but frown. Is there no outsider sneaking into the main tent? Is it just my illusion? Then, Patriarch Poison Dragon closed his eyes again and meditated. What he did not know was that he had already been tainted with the karma of killing Si Ming and he had already become Ning Fan's scapegoat. In a faraway place, Ning Fan was standing on top of a short mountain. His 10 fingers were forming a series of hand seals to activate the rain technique while observing every movement in the demon army's camp. Ning Fan sensed Immortal Emperor Luck Wielding's first karma deduction. If Ning Fan's prediction was correct, Immortal Emperor Luck Master would perform the 2nd and 3rd divination not long after that. The first time Immortal Emperor Luck Wielding deduced karma, his karma was stripped and sealed by Ning Fan. That was why his deduction failed. This time, Ning Fan had already unsealed the karma and it tainted old ancestor poisonous dragon. If the Immortal Emperor Master of Fate were to calculate again, he would most likely get the same result. The one who killed Si Ming was Patriarch Poison Dragon of the true dragon race. This was, of course, the result that Ning Fan hoped to see the most. Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon was his enemy while Immortal Emperor Luck Master was also his enemy. It couldn't be better for the two of them to fight against each other. Old Ancestor Poisonous Dragon was kept in the dark while Immortal Emperor Luck Master was also clueless about it. After a moment, Immortal Emperor Luck Master summoned wind and lightning on the Wind Thunder Mountain again and began his divination. During the second divination, 2 heads grew out of Immortal Emperor Luck Master's neck one after another. If someone was here, they would certainly notice that the 2 heads that Immortal Emperor Luck Master had were exactly the same as the heads that the 7th generation barbaric ancestor had in the past. However, there was one difference between Immortal Emperor Luckmaster and the 7th-generation barbaric ancestor. Immortal Emperor Luckmaster had a third head which was his original head. There was also tribulation blood flowing in his body. The power of tribulation sense was also used by him in the divination. This time, he integrated the power of tribulation sense and the barbaric flash into his divination. Its accuracy was several times better than the first time. In the 4th region of the ancient wild region, a rainbow-colored eyeball suddenly appeared in the sky above the demon army camp. The eyeball scanned the area with divine light and immediately found old ancestor poisonous dragon in the central tent. Its eyes turned grim and full of killing intent. The true dragon race. Son of the poisonous dragon. I didn't expect that the one who killed Siming wasn't an immortal emperor but an immortal venerable of the demon race. Good, good, good. You killed my disciple. I'll make sure your dragon's soul falls forever. At the peak of the Wind Thunder Mountain in the immortal palace of the southern heavens celestial world, Immortal Emperor Luckmaster slowly closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were filled with ferocity. At this moment, the demon army camp in the 4th region of the wildlands was in an uproar. Countless demon cultivators looked up at the sky and looked at the rainbow-colored eyeball in fear. Old ancestor poisonous dragon rushed out of the tent and looked up in shock. He could sense a killing intent from the rainbow-colored eyeball. It was locked onto him. If he was not mistaken, the killing intent came from an 8th-tribulation great emperor of the human race. Before old ancestor poisonous dragon could react, the rainbow-colored eyeball suddenly shot out thousands of rays of divine light. In the next instant, a rainbow-colored blood mark appeared on old ancestor poisonous dragon's forehead. The moment the blood mark appeared, old ancestor poisonous dragon's demonic energy was suppressed by more than 30%. This is the blood mark of a sovereign. Only an immortal sovereign can plant a tracing mark on a cultivator. Under normal circumstances, an immortal sovereign can only plant a blood mark on a few cultivators at the same time. Once this mark is planted, no one can escape the detection of the immortal sovereign even if they hide in the sky or underground. Moreover, this mark also has the effect of suppressing one's cultivation base. Even with old ancestor poisonous dragon's immortal venerated realm, his cultivation base is still suppressed by 30%. This blood mark is really impressive. Ning Fan's eyes flashed as he recognized the origin of the blood mark. After all, the Wildlands was a medium-sized world. No matter how strong the immortal Emperor Luckmaster was, he was not a sage after all. It was impossible for him to travel across countless worlds to kill an immortal venerated realm. Therefore, the immortal Emperor Luckmaster settled for the next best thing and planted a blood mark on old ancestor poisonous dragon. As long as the blood mark remained, the immortal Emperor Luckmaster had plenty of time to hunt down old ancestor poisonous dragon. At this moment, old ancestor poisonous dragon's expression was filled with fear. He wanted to cry but had no tears. His heart was filled with grievance. He did not understand what he had done at all. How did he provoke an 8th-tribulation great emperor of the human race to plant a sovereign's blood mark on him? Not good. This is the sovereign's blood mark. I've been targeted by an 8th-tribulation immortal emperor. I can't stay in the wildlands any longer. I must return to the land of demon spirits immediately. It's too dangerous to stay here. That 8th-tribulation immortal emperor might come to the wildlands to find trouble with me at any time. Damn it. Damn it. Why did an 8th-tribulation immortal emperor target me? Who can tell me what exactly is going on? On the stargazing platform of the Wind Thunder Mountain, the immortal Emperor Luckmaster closed his eyes. His initial anger was gradually calming down. His rationality gradually returned. Suddenly, he had a strange feeling. He felt that something was wrong. However, when he thought about it carefully, he could not see what was wrong. There's something wrong with this karma. The one who killed the arbiter of fate is not Du Longzi. Someone is trying to frame him and deceive me. It seems like I need to borrow the power of the karma chessboard to perform the third deduction. You won't be able to escape from the person who killed the arbiter of fate. Chapter 888. Immortal Emperor Fate Master dispersed his three-headed avatar and pondered. He was confident that he could deduce the real cause and effect with the help of the karma chessboard. However, he had to awaken the chessboard's artifact spirit first before he could use it. That artifact spirit was a problem that had troubled him for many years. When I killed Tai Tsang, I obtained a beast called Karma. Ever since I hid in the illusionary world, I used the Karma beast as the artifact spirit to refine the Karma chessboard. I obtained a total of 72 black and white chess pieces. The white chess pieces control fate while the black chess pieces control fate. This old man has already completed the 36 white chess pieces. With this old man has achieved the position of fate controller. However, I've only completed 6 of the 36 black chess pieces. The reason why it's so difficult to complete the black chess pieces is because the Karma beast doesn't cooperate. Immortal Emperor Fate Master frowned and raised his hand to point at the sky. Black and white immediately intersected in the sky where wind and lightning intertwined, forming a huge black and white chessboard. There were a total of 36 white chess pieces and 6 black chess pieces on the chessboard. In each chess piece, there was a chess soul with scarlet eyes that was filled with resentment. Every single one of the 36 white chess souls had astounding providence. At the very least, they all had 6-colored celestial luck. The 6 black chess souls were either in the shape of a human or a beast. All of them were ferocious beasts with fierce lives, and their cultivation bases were above the ancient times. If Immortal Emperor Fate Master could complete the black chess pieces, he would have controlled the fate of heaven and earth. Unfortunately, the Karma beast looked down on him and only helped him complete 6 black chess pieces. From the 7th black chess piece onwards, it stopped helping him. Immortal Emperor Fate Master originally wanted to use his own strength to nurture a Si Ming to become the 7th black chess piece. He wanted to use his undying evil veins to suppress the Karma beast and make it yield, but Si Ming was killed. He already had a candidate for the ferocious cultivators who were suitable to become black chess pieces, but without Si Ming, the 7th chess piece, those candidates were meaningless. Karma beast, quickly show yourself and meet me. Immortal Emperor Fate Master shouted at the sky and sent a voice transmission to the bottom of the Wind Thunder Mountain. A moment later, the bottom of the Wind Thunder Mountain Observatory was filled with blood and screams. Tens of thousands of lives were sacrificed by his disciple, Si Kong, to awaken the Karma beast. The blood-red light was like flowing water, dyeing the void a strange red. In the sky above the chessboard, the shadow of a strange beast slowly appeared. The moment the strange beast appeared, the karmic power of the world immediately began to tremble. The chess souls on the Karma chessboard prostrated themselves on the ground as if they were extremely afraid of the beast. It was a strange beast that seemed like both a lion and a dog. Its body was covered in snow-white long fur, and its body emanated the radiance of the great Tao that was dazzling and resplendent. Its eyes were scarlet red, yet its intelligence wasn't high, and it couldn't understand human speech. This strange beast was the Karma beast. The Karma beast yawned sleepily. It glanced at Zhang Yun and then closed its eyes in disdain. It lay in the air and continued to sleep. Immortal Emperor Fate was a human emperor, but in the eyes of the Karma beast, he was no different from a speck of dust. It could see the karma of Immortal Emperor Fate, and it knew that one day, the emperor would fall. Compared to its previous master, he was as insignificant as a speck of dust. How arrogant was the Immortal Emperor Master of Fate! His expression immediately darkened after being looked down upon by an animal. However, Immortal Emperor Fate also understood that the Karma beast had its reasons for looking down on him. There were only 108,000 Karma beasts in the world, and they only existed in the Tribulation God of the Upper Realm. They despised the common people and were the guardians of the Tribulation God. The previous master of the Karma beast could be said to be the Tribulation God. Compared to the Tribulation God, Immortal Emperor Fate was naturally as insignificant as a speck of dust. This beast can't understand human speech, and its intelligence is low. However, its personality is extremely arrogant. No matter how much I tried to persuade and coerce, it still refused to help me complete the black pieces. It always looked down on me. How hateful! If this beast wasn't an indispensable artifact spirit of the karma chessboard, I wouldn't have kept it until today. Immortal Emperor Fate Master of Fate coldly glanced at the karma beast and then waved his hand to grab it. The beast immediately turned into a string of snow-white prayer beads that fell into his palm. Immortal Emperor Fate Master of Fate sat cross-legged on a cattail hassock. He moved the prayer beads and began the third deduction. At the foot of the Wind Thunder Mountain, Kong raised his head and looked at the stargazing platform with fiery eyes. There were 5 other Dao children standing behind him. Their cultivation levels varied from Duzhen to Shikong. All of them were the disciples of Fate Master of Fate. All of them had dabbled in the Tao of divination. To them, it was a great fortune to be able to witness Immortal Emperor Fate Master's deduction of karma with their own eyes. Is that the karma beast that Master is raising? What a terrifying power of karma. It can actually transform into karma sense beads. Even though Master has made many mistakes in his deduction in the past 200 years, if he takes out the karma chessboard and transforms the karma sense beads, there will be very few things in this world that Master cannot divine. Even if the one who killed Si Ming is an immortal emperor, he won't be able to escape Master's divination. In the wild ancient region, with the help of the heaven-peering rain technique, Ning Fan secretly observed the actions of the demons. His brows furrowed deeper and deeper. Even though he had already tainted old ancestor Du Long with his karma, the uneasiness in his heart kept increasing. On the peak of a small mountain in an uninhabited valley, the rainstorm was pouring down like a waterfall. When the raindrops fell in front of Ning Fan, they automatically avoided the trajectory of the raindrops. Ning Fan's face was covered with a ghost mask. His eyes were filled with uncertainty. He used his finger to cut off a lock of silver hair and activated his ability. He was actually divining something. Ning Fan was not proficient in the Tao of divination. However, after opening the second gate of the heavenly being realm, Ning Fan's integration with heaven and earth became closer. Even if he does not cultivate divination techniques, he could still divine some heavenly secrets. After some divination, the silver hair in Ning Fan's hand suddenly combusted without any fire and turned into ashes. He could only carry out a simple divination. The result of his divination was only one sentence. Karma is hard to sever. A great calamity is coming. Ning Fan's eyes instantly turned solemn. How could he not know that his act of framing old ancestor Du Long did not escape the eyes of Immortal Emperor Fate Master? He gradually noticed that the heavenly secrets on his body were trembling slightly. He had a feeling that he was being divined by someone. As expected of the great emperor who controls fate, it seems like it won't be easy to hide from this person's divination. Is this person carrying out the third divination on me? This time, his divination is really powerful. Even though I have separated my karma, he can still vaguely find me. It's not enough to conceal this divination with just the innate ghost mask alone. If I have other innate treasures, I might be able to borrow a trace of innate power to disrupt the heavenly secrets again and conceal my karma. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. Innate treasures. He did not only have one innate ghost mask. Innate magic treasures were extremely rare in the world. Even immortal emperors did not have many of them. Ning Fan's luck was heaven-defying. Having an innate ghost mask was not enough. He still had a gourd that could be used to refine innate treasures. Apart from that, he also had the yin-yang dual steels, which were also ranked among the innate treasures. The yin-yang dual steels guarded the east and west worlds of the profound Yin world. They were innate magic treasures that Ning Fan obtained after fusing the two locks. With his current cultivation base, he could not summon the dual steels from the profound Yin world. However, if he enters the profound Yin world, he could borrow the power of the dual steels. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with determination. With a sway of his body, he entered the boundary of the profound Yin world and flew to the peak of the nine heavens sea of clouds. Then he activated his divine ability. The two yin-yang steels that were as tall as the sky immediately flew from different directions. They crossed the layers of clouds and merged into one. Ning Fan sat cross-legged on the dual steels. His eyes flashed with green light. His 10 fingers formed a series of hand seals and his fingers moved like phantoms. His mind gradually sank into the dual steels. He mobilized the power of the steels to protect the heavenly secrets around him. At a certain moment, a rainbow-colored eyeball suddenly appeared in the sky of the profound Yin world. As soon as the rainbow-colored eyeball appeared, Ning Fan suddenly stood up from the dual steels before it could open. He made a grabbing motion with his hand. His innate power immediately condensed into a 1,000 zhang sword light and slashed at the sky. That slash did not produce any sharp sword chime, but it was enough to directly sever the heavenly secrets. As soon as the sword light fell, the rainbow-colored eyeball was immediately cut into 2 halves. Blood splattered across the sky. It did not even have the chance to open its eyes. On the peak of the Wind Thunder Mountain, the immortal emperor who controls fate suddenly felt a sharp pain in his right eye and blood flowed out. His right eye was not blinded, but it was severely injured. As I expected, the one who killed Si Ming isn't Du Longzi. Even though I can't sense his identity, I can sense the power of 2 innate treasures from his body. It was with the power of these 2 treasures that he managed to destroy my rainbow-colored eyeball. Besides, he doesn't seem to be in the desolate land. Instead, he's in a middle thousand worlds that I've never seen before. Is he a world treasure? In the illusory world, there aren't many cultivators who can possess 2 innate magic treasures. All of them are immortal emperors. Since this person possesses 2 innate magic treasures, it's highly possible that he's an immortal emperor. However, there's also another possibility. This person's luck is far beyond his level. Even though he's not an immortal emperor, he has already defied the heavens and obtained 2 innate magic treasures. The immortal emperor's eyes turned solemn. He waved his hand and rubbed his right eye. The bloodstain was immediately wiped away and his right eye became undamaged again. As soon as he thought of something, green light flashed in his eyes. I'm a cultivator at the 1st level of the heavenly being realm. Besides, my cultivation base is already close to breaking through to the 2nd level of the heavenly being realm. Together with the power of the heavenly being realm, it's enough to penetrate the protection of this person's innate magic treasures and extract his heavenly secrets for divination. Water mirror technique. The immortal Emperor Luck-wielding pointed his finger forward. A green water mirror immediately appeared in front of him. He reached his palm into the water mirror and scooped it up. It was as if he was holding the karma of the entire heaven and earth. At the same time, 7-colored mist rolled down from the sky of the profound Yin world like surging waves. At the center of the mist, a gigantic vortex gradually appeared. At the center of the vortex was a green mirror lake that hung upside down in the sky. All of a sudden, a 10,000 zhang large green arm flew out from the center of the lake. As soon as the arm appeared, the entire heaven and earth began to tremble. In the Eastern world, many human cauldrons sensed the tremors, but they did not know what was happening. The arm was covered with wrinkles. Its skin and flesh were dry, but it was strong and powerful, as if it could control the universe. As soon as the arm appeared, it clenched its 5 fingers and grabbed at the sea of clouds where Ning Fan was. His eyes flashed with green light. How could he not tell that the gigantic green hand was the manifestation of the heavenly being Green Qi? At this moment, he seemed to have an illusion. What was falling from the sky was not the gigantic Green Qi hand, but the entire heaven and earth instead. As expected of the old man Fate Master, he actually managed to infuse the heavenly being Green Qi into his deduction and form a divine ability. If I can't block this technique, I will certainly be robbed of the heavenly secrets by this divine ability and see through everything. Unfortunately, this gigantic hand is just the manifestation of the Green Qi of the 1st level of the heavenly being realm, while I am at the 2nd level of the heavenly being realm. This technique is useless against me. Green light flashed in Ningfan's eyes continuously. He stepped on the sea of clouds and suddenly raised his head, glaring at the gigantic hand in the sky. Just a gaze from him actually carried the might of heaven and earth, which was much heavier than the gigantic hand. It slowed down the attack of the gigantic hand and actually dared not to fall on Ningfan. Ningfan smiled coldly like a devil. He opened his mouth and swallowed the gigantic hand. Immediately, the gigantic hand broke into countless traces of green chi which went into his stomach and vanished into thin air. The devil nature in his eyes became even stronger. Ever since he encountered Su Mo, his heart of devil cultivation had also awakened once again. Ningfan had already seen through the immortal Emperor Fate Master's green chi technique. A cultivator at the second level of the celestial being realm could deduce magical powers with a wave of his hand and create his own profound techniques. It was not difficult to learn and sell the immortal Emperor's water mirror technique on the spot. With Ningfan's current cultivation base, he could not open his own water mirror. However, he could go against the path of the mirror lake that immortal Emperor Fate Master had set up and counterattack. Ningfan covered his fist with green chi. His aura force was like a strong gust of wind. His silver hair danced wildly in the wind as he threw a punch at the mirror lake that was hanging upside down in the sky. The fist radiance smashed into the mirror lake, immediately shattering it and scattering the rainbow-colored mist in the sky. At the peak of the thunderstorm mountain, the water mirror in front of immortal Emperor Fate suddenly shattered. The moment it shattered, an endless amount of green energy converged into a fist light that flew straight towards the immortal Emperor Fate. There was no way to dodge. The might of heaven and earth around the Wind Thunder Mountain was all condensed into this fist. It was as if Ningfan's fist was the only thing left in the entire world. It was Ningfan's first time retaliating against immortal Emperor Luck wielding in his life. There was a trace of will that vowed to harm immortal Emperor Luck wielding. This fist was not aimed at a person, but at the heaven's will. It heavily landed on the immortal Emperor's body, but it didn't cause any physical damage. In just a split second, it shattered all of the heaven's will power on the Emperor's body. Immortal Emperor Fate, who was channeling his water mirror technique, immediately turned pale and coughed out a mouthful of golden blood. That golden blood was clearly the essence blood of his primordial spirit. This punch actually caused a backlash because it disrupted his deduction and injured the foundation of his primordial spirit. At the foot of Mount Wind Thunder, Si Ming and the other 5 Taoist children were shocked. They had followed Zhang Yun for many years, but this was the first time they saw Zhang Yun coughing blood. The Celestial Emperor Master of Fate was also shocked. If he was not mistaken, the person who killed Si Ming was a cultivator at the second level of the celestial being realm. He was not a cultivator of the second level. Thus, he naturally did not know that Ningfan had opened the second door. As far as he could remember, there were only a handful of second-level heavenly beings in the entire illusionary world, and all of them were demi-sages. The one who killed Si Ming wasn't an immortal emperor, but a quasi-saint. Other things can be faked, but the second level of celestial being can't be faked. The one who is going against me is actually a quasi-saint? Cough cough. In the illusionary world, not all quasi-saints could open the second door of the celestial being realm. However, those who could open the second door were undoubtedly quasi-saints. Immortal Emperor Master of Fate naturally would not think that there would be cultivators who were not immortal emperors who could open the second door of the celestial being realm. After coughing out another mouthful of primordial spirit golden blood, Immortal Emperor Master of Fate's face turned extremely gloomy. With his various means, he could still take his revenge even if the one who killed Si Ming was an immortal emperor. However, if the other party was a quasi-saint who had opened the second door, then he would have to think carefully about his revenge. Oh, so it's a quasi-saint. What a quasi-saint. You killed my disciple and bullied the weak. How shameless. Even if I have to pay a price today, I still want to see what kind of quasi-saint you are. Karma Beast. Give me your power. Immortal Emperor Master of Fate's eyes widened in anger. He tossed the Karma Sense bead in his hand into the sky and performed a hand seal. his face immediately turned pale. Obviously, he had to pay a huge price to borrow the power of the Karma Beast. At the same time, black and white intersected at the peak of the profound in-world sea of clouds. The image of an ancient chessboard appeared. The chessboard trapped Ning Fan within it. At the center of the chessboard, a gigantic shadow of a lion hound with a snow-white body slowly appeared. It was none other than the Karma Beast. As soon as the Karma Beast appeared, it immediately yawned lazily. Its eyes were filled with disdain. Then, it glanced at Ning Fan as if nothing had happened. Its eyes were always filled with disdain. It could see everyone's karma and see everyone's past and future. The karma it saw couldn't be told to others, so it couldn't tell the fate controller Immortal Emperor that his fate was to be killed by others. His success was due to the fate controller, and his failure was also due to the fate controller. It saw the weak future of Immortal Emperor Fate's unwilling death, so it naturally looked down on him. It also looked down on Ning Fan because it could see the cause in Ning Fan's body. That cause came from the rain world, and it was an extremely weak world. Up until today, Ning Fan was merely Duzhen. Thus, he was unable to attract the attention of the Karma Beast. However, the next moment, the Karma Beast saw Ning Fan's fruit. The fruit continued to extend forward, boundless and without end. That fruit continued to lead to endless darkness. Along the way, it was filled with white bones and massacres. That fruit gradually exceeded its expectations. It could no longer see where Ning Fan's final destination would be in this life. Ever since it became a tool spirit, the lazy Karma Beast showed an expression of fear for the first time. When it met Ning Fan's cold eyes, the Karma Beast was almost paralyzed on the ground. Its fur bristled and it could not help but tremble. After a while, it shattered its virtual image and fled from this place. It was extremely afraid of Ning Fan. At the peak of the Wind Thunder Mountain, the Immortal Emperor Fate Controller's eyes suddenly shrunk. He looked at the sky in disbelief. The Karma Sense beads that were originally hovering in midair suddenly broke apart and turned back into the gigantic shadow of the Karma Beast. The Karma Beast's expression was filled with fear. The Immortal Emperor Fate Controller could not imagine what the Karma Beast had seen that made it so terrified. This beast has always been arrogant. Even when it saw me, it had never been afraid of me. However, it was afraid of that person like a tiger. What exactly is that person's background? The Immortal Emperor Fate Controller had no way of knowing what the Karma Beast had seen. The only thing he could do was to use the beast's eyes to see Ning Fan's ghost face and silver hair. He had silver hair and opened the second gate of the heavenly being realm. Is there such a quasi-saint in the illusory realm? Without a doubt, that ghost face was an innate ghost face. The first thing the Immortal Emperor Fate Controller thought of was the Slaughter Palace. However, he quickly denied it. In the Slaughter Palace, the only person who had an innate ghost face was Sha Di. Sha Di was neither a quasi-saint nor a heavenly being realm cultivator. Other than the Slaughter Palace, there seemed to be another force that had an innate ghost face. The clan leader of the Southern Heaven Secret Clan, Huodou. Could you be the one who killed Si Ming? The Immortal Emperor Fate Controller took a deep breath and his expression gradually calmed down. If it was really Huodou who killed Si Ming, then he couldn't act rashly. He still had a plan against the Southern Heaven Secret Clan. According to what the Immortal Emperor Fate Controller knew, the Southern Heaven Secret Clan had been eyeing the sacred sword of heavenly desolation of the Slaughter Palace in the Eastern Heaven. This old man's original plan was to watch the Calamity Clan and the Slaughter Palace fight until both sides suffered heavy losses. Then I would secretly seize the sword. Before I achieve my goal, I shouldn't take revenge on Huodou. It's not a good thing to attract the attention of this clan. This sword is an indispensable item in this old man's plan. Even if it's for this sword, this old man has to endure this humiliation. The Immortal Emperor Fate Controller closed his eyes unwillingly. When he opened them again, there was no longer any expression on his face. All his emotions had been restrained. Si Ming was already dead. It wasn't good to mess up his plan because of her. Of course, the Immortal Emperor Fate Controller had already remembered this grudge. Once he obtained the sacred sword of heavenly desolation, he would definitely settle this score with the Calamity clan. Speaking of which, he had once placed a chess piece in the Calamity clan. It was a person who had been enslaved by the 8th black chess piece. Although he couldn't attack the Calamity clan openly, he could do something secretly. See Kong. Contact the 8th chess piece secretly and send this order to him. I'm going into seclusion to recuperate immediately. I've already divined that the demon race will destroy the wild wasteland in a few days. There's no need for all of you to go there and die. There's no need to investigate the matter regarding Ming anymore. No one is allowed to mention what happened today again. In the profound Yin world, Ning Fan looked at the shadow of the karma beast that was fleeing for its life with a deep frown on his face. He did not know what kind of beast it was. He also did not understand why it would flee for its life after glancing at him. The only thing he could feel was that after the beast left, he no longer had the feeling that he was being divined. Moreover, the uneasiness in his heart had completely vanished. Ning Fan chopped off another part of his silver hair and used the heavenly being green chi to perform the divination. To his surprise, he got another result. Diverting the trouble to someone else, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Ning Fan did not know the true meaning of this sentence. However, he could vaguely guess that the immortal Emperor Fate Controller seemed to have dispelled his killing intent towards him for some reason. Diverting the trouble to someone else. Has the old man's killing intent been diverted to another place? Ning Fan frowned and muttered to himself. Of course, he did not know that his action of disrupting the 3rd divination had caused the immortal Emperor Fate Controller to make a wrong judgment and shift his hatred to the Southern Heaven Calamity clan. The Calamity clan was one of the 10 great secret clans. They were the mortal enemies of the Slaughter Palace. Since Ning Fan did not know this, he naturally did not understand what it meant to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Even though the crisis had passed, he did not feel relaxed at all. Instead, he closed his eyes dejectedly and sighed. Even though he was lucky enough to avoid the fatal calamity of the immortal Emperor Fate Controller, and even though his first counterattack had injured the immortal Emperor Fate Controller, he was still hiding after all. Not enough. It's still not enough. If I have the cultivation base of an immortal Emperor realm, why would I be afraid of the immortal Emperor Fate Controller? I can just kill my way to the Southern Heaven. My cultivation base is still not enough. After deducing a few more times and confirming that the crisis was really gone, Ning Fan kept the ghost face and returned to the Heavenly Man City. When he returned, the sky was already dark. At this moment, in the Zhao Mansion of the Heavenly Man City, Earth Devil, Taoist Taiya and the 4-eyed Devil Sovereign were standing in the courtyard with their heads lowered, ignoring the tense atmosphere in the front hall. In the front hall, Lu Yen and Zhao Do were looking at Fairy Cold Dance with vigilance. Even though Zhao Dai had met Fairy Cold Dance and the 4-eyed Devil Sovereign before, they could not help but be vigilant when they suddenly appeared when Ning Fan was not around. The immortal Loli, on the other hand, was looking at Fairy Cold Dance curiously while munching on the lightning pill like a bean. Fairy Cold Dance was not annoyed even though the little Loli was looking at her curiously. After all, she had already heard that this lady was Ning Fan's daughter. Does he already have a daughter? What did he go to do? He hasn't returned yet. Could it be that something happened to him? Fairy Cold Dance calmly circulated her spiritual chi to heal her injuries. However, her beautiful eyes flashed with worry from time to time. She was worried about Ning Fan's safety. For some reason, the scene of her meeting Ning Fan for a short while kept appearing in her mind. The first time she met Ning Fan was on the pleasure boat in Bianliang City. She treated Ning Fan coldly and did not look him in the eye. However, after Ning Fan repelled Old Monster 2 with a palm strike, she finally began to look him in the eye. However, she did not have any extra feelings towards him. When she met Ning Fan again, she entered the Yellow River Maze with him. When she was in danger, she was caught by Ning Fan's bewitching technique. The numb feeling made her feel so ashamed that she wanted to hide her face. She was very grateful for Ning Fan's help. However, when she recalled the numb feeling when she was under the bewitching technique, she blushed a little. After that, Ning Fan saved her again from Kei Shenxi's scheme. If it wasn't for Ning Fan, she would already be dead. She felt grateful towards Ning Fan. However, there seemed to be some extra care and concern in her gratitude. The scene changed. Suddenly, she recalled Ning Fan's words that sounded a little distant. Ning Fan left alone. Obviously, he wanted to do some secret things. However, he did not tell her about it. It was obvious that he was trying to distance himself from her. When she thought of this, she felt a little depressed for some reason. She let out a faint sigh. He should be safe. Before Fairy Hanwu could finish her sigh, her beautiful eyes suddenly lit up. At this moment, be it Lu Yen or Zhao Dai, their beautiful eyes lit up. As for immortal Loli, she immediately cheered and threw herself into the arms of a white-robed young man who was slowly walking into the front hall. "Father, you're finally back. Xian Xian missed you so much." "I'm back." Ning Fan stroked immortal Loli's silvery hair. However, his brows were slightly knitted as he looked outside the hall. Unknowingly, the black snow which was getting lighter and lighter began to fall again tonight. The uneasiness that immortal Emperor Master Luck brought to him had disappeared. However, a new feeling of uneasiness came. Today was destined to be a sad and helpless day for old ancestor Poisonous Dragon. Even though he was an immortal venerable, he would certainly not have a good ending if he was targeted by an 8-tribulation immortal emperor. At this moment, how could old ancestor Poisonous Dragon still have the mood to send troops to harass the human race? He immediately gave the order to retreat and returned to the Northern Territory alone. As soon as he returned to the Northern Territory, old ancestor Poisonous Dragon immediately contacted the True Dragon clan and requested them to send another immortal venerable to guard the wild wasteland. However, there was no response from the clan for a long time. "Damn it! Don't tell me you want me to wait for death in the wildlands. If that 8th tribulation great emperor comes to the Boorish Desolate, how can this old man resist him? I can only die." As Patriarch Poisonous Dragon sensed the blood mark of his palm that was carved into his bones, he drank spirit wine in a depressed mood, trying to drown his sorrows. In his drunken haze, Ancestor Poison Dragon suddenly heard a cold laugh. As soon as that laughter rang out, Ancestor Poison Dragon shuddered and immediately sobered up. "Ayo, Celestial Sovereign Ao Xian, why did you come to the wilderness? Did the clan send you to take over this old man's position?" Patriarch Poisonous Dragon stood up abruptly and smiled apologetically at a man with a scar beside him who was smiling coldly. "No. Patriarch means that you don't have to rush back to the wildlands, and you don't have to worry about the human celestial emperor harming you because he won't have a chance to come back to the wildlands." Ao Xian said coldly. "No chance to come to the wilderness? What do you mean?" Patriarch Poison Dragon was confused. "Go out and see if the snow is getting heavier." Hearing Ao Xian's words, Patriarch Poison Dragon immediately walked out of the main hall. When he saw the black snow outside, he was immediately shocked. How is this possible? Most of the defying nascent soul was destroyed, and only 40% of the formation was unsealed. How could this snow? Could it be? Patriarch Poison Dragon immediately looked at Ao Xian as if he was seeking confirmation. Patriarch had expected that the defying nascent soul would be discovered by the human celestial emperor, so he had already prepared a replacement. However, he didn't expect that even the unsealing formation would be destroyed. This is a bit troublesome. But it doesn't matter. Although there is only 40% of the formation left, it's enough to sacrifice the blood to the wilderness and achieve the common goal of our true spirit clan. One of the entrances to the heavenly desolate ancient realm is in the wilderness. This is the best time to unseal it. Patriarch has ordered us to unseal the entrance to the heavenly desolate ancient realm and take back the candle bow. Right now, no one can enter the wildlands, and no one can leave either, even if it's an celestial emperor. Ao Xian let out a cruel smile. He didn't come here to exchange for Patriarch Poison Dragon's return, but to help Patriarch Poison Dragon complete the task. The Patriarch has ordered us to turn the wildlands into the cave world of the True Dragon clan. No mistakes are allowed. that you're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.